Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on Discord.
This is Parker, go by One Who Parks on Discord.
And this is Aaron. I go by Treffinwood on Discord.
Welcome back for another riveting episode of The Infamous. And as always, links in the show notes. And this time, we got it. Parker, what do we got?
We got some news!
Hey,
news! Yes.
News.
So our news today is all about the man thing. I know that Aaron has been on the absolute edge of his seat, waiting very patiently for his swamp friend Theodore Salas to saunter into the game.
You know what the furniture store did to Aaron?
What did it do?
They sold him the whole seat, knowing he would only need the edge.
Aaron, have you got a chance to look at the man thing?
Only cursorily.
Okay.
Yes.
I have
we're not going to read his whole card here, but what excited you about him? I'm curious.
Nothing.
Nothing.
I have a question.
You have a question? What's your question?
Why does he have a name? Is he a person?
Yeah, he was a person. Yeah,
he was a person and then he fell into a vat of radioactive swamps.
You are so close to what actually happened.
God damn it! Okay, my second question is he like a really big deal in the Marvel universe?
I mean, I think
on like the power scale of 1 to 10. If like, let's say Adam Warlock is a 9, and like I don't know, Brock Rumlow is a 1. Where is Man Thing?
If Adam Warlock is a 9,
mm-hmm.
and he's a
so imagine like Beyonder and stuff is a 10, like cosmic at level
sure.
beings. They're godlike power.
Well, he's
the living tribunal.
He's like he's very very supernatural, right? And he's what's the best way? He's kind of immortal, kind of. He's
basically like an avatar of Gaia.
No.
Okay.
It's really weird.
I'm just concerned, when people are like, "Oh, Man Thing is pissed at us." Like, do you leave the planet or you leave the city?
Okay.
Just throw out a guess.
I'm going to put him at like a 6, I think.
Wow. Okay, so that's that seems like a big deal.
Yeah.
Like he's scary. Like
well,
he's a big guy.
To the Marvel Universe, he does one thing really important, which is there are these nodes all over the Marvel Universe that connect. Think of them kind of like binding points. And if the multiverse was a giant quilt, there are these binding points that are kind of like holding all of the realities together so they don't just unravel into a million pieces. And they're called Nexus. Some of them are alive, like Scarlet Witch is a Nexus being, right? Like one of these points that kind of tap into these supernatural forces. And some of them are physical locations. One such physical location exists in the Florida Everglades, and the Man Thing is its protector. So he is empowered with incredible stamina and I guess the word
he draws
is just
his power from the Nexus.
Yeah, kind of, yes.
Okay. It really concerned me when I first started reading his card, because I didn't really pay too much attention to the rules. I just saw that he was 3 points. There's a lot of text on his card that's very like imposing.
Yeah.
And it's like God of all cosmic, and like, wait, hold on. Like what? Aren't you a moss creature? I don't really sure what you're supposed to do here.
So another thing that you got to understand is he comes from like Golden Age comics. Like his first issue was like 1974. So he was OG supernatural side of the Marvel Universe. But he originally, like everything in Marvel, they love to blend sci-fi and fantasy. So he was originally like a chemist working on the super soldier serum. And somebody breaks into his lab. I believe it's supposed to be in Florida. Somebody breaks into his lab and tries to steal it. In order to preserve it, he injects himself with it and flees. And when he flees, he gets run off the road and he crashes into a swamp. And so the idea is that they think he's dead because his body was like mangled in the crash. But basically, the super soldier serum interacts with the Nexus of all realities, which is nearby, and the swamp material that's around him, and he becomes the Man Thing. And so he doesn't really have like a like a very, what's the best way to put it? He doesn't have like a very thinking brain, but he's basically mostly working on instinct. But his instinct is to protect the Nexus and to guard the swamp, basically. This place.
So it says here, Guardian of the Nexus of all realities.
Yes.
That's incorrect. It should be Guardian of a Nexus of all realities.
The Nexus of all realities on Earth, I guess, is the...
It's because there's a lot of these, though.
Yes, there's more than one.
Okay.
Yes.
It seems like if I put that on my LinkedIn, I feel like I'd be
somebody might cite you for inaccuracy. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Like Times 2004 Person of the Year. You're like, yeah, sure, I guess. Like, so is everybody. Like, that's not a big deal.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Part of his original supernatural thing that I love they put on his card is all who know fear burn and the man things touch. It was just a really bizarre power that he has.
It's like penance stare, but just like
for specifically fear. Yeah. So if you are scared and he touches you, you just light on fire, which is which is one of the most like terrifying powers you can imagine, right?
Yeah, because that would garnish more fear.
Exactly.
If he just walks up and touches your friend, he bursts into flames. You're like, okay, I'm now more scared than I was
right.
of the moss creature.
Right.
So is that only if you're afraid of him, or if you're just afraid in general, or if you have the ability to feel fear?
If you know fear, but that also means that
I still don't know what that means.
Literally, if you feel fear, like if you feel the sensation of fear in that moment, you don't have to be scared of him.
Okay, so it's actively feel fear,
yes.
Not like of anything specific.
Right.
Just like if he jump scares you, then you would set on fire.
Yeah,
okay.
And that
touches
happens.
You, though.
Yes, and touches you. But that is a really common trope is if the man thing is involved at all in the end of a comic, very, very, very commonly, the antagonist will all of a sudden a big green hand will reach over the back of their head because his head's like enormous and like wrap around the character's head, and you'll see like their eyes in between his fingers and their head will light on fire. It's a very, very, very common way that man thing plots end. I know it seems really odd, but that's what happens a bunch. It's just been used over and over and over again. And I don't know, I'm guessing that's from like the original comics is why they picked that as like his supernatural thing. Because otherwise, he is just made of roots and strong.
You would think him randomly lighting things on fire would be bad as the Guardian of the Swamp.
Yeah, I don't understand that power. I think it was just written way back when they thought this sounded cool. And it, by the way, it does sound cool.
It is scary.
It's pretty metal, right? Like it sounds awesome.
I mean, honestly, I feel like Ghost Rider and his power should switch.
Yeah,
because like if Ghost Rider just touched you and lit you on fire because you were afraid of him, that'd be cool.
Right.
And if Swamp Thing here is like, oh God, you've done wrong to the swamp, and he stares at you, and then your soul burns or something. Yeah. That actually makes more sense.
Yeah. So I speaking of card text, I do love that he has rules like Guardian of the Nexus of all realities, and also moss and mud and swamp. I love those two things exist on his card because it really does encapsulate his character as being this like sci-fi yet also supernatural being, and yet also a very mundane, just tentacly swamp monster. So
okay, so let's talk about his game mechanics real quick. He seems just like a weird 3-point tanky model that isn't really that tough.
I don't know about that.
I mean, he's not squishy, but I mean, as far as 3-point tank models, he's definitely not Lizard. He's not even Luke Cage.
6 health, auto incinerate, healing factor 2.
Well, but
with a fucking range 3 place? Are you fucking kidding me?
Auto incinerate doesn't increase his survivability. It just deters you from attacking
I'm
him.
Just saying, I think this character is jacked.
Really? Okay.
That's why I was unexcited. I think this is a very pushed 3. Very
interesting.
I actually agree with you, Aaron. When I saw the very first thing that I saw, the very first thing that I saw was looking at his attack stats. I looked at all of his abilities, and I was like, 6 health, that's a little low for a 4-pointer. That's exactly, I was thinking, wow, what an interesting 4-point package. And then I looked over and saw that he was a 3-pointer with a little less health than a 4-pointer should have.
I mean, there's definitely no question that the place is crazy. But I'm talking about his survivability though is all I was saying.
Oh wait, whoa! Are you fucking kidding me?
What do you mean?
I'm not staring at the card right now. He has black cats. defensive tech on a healing 2 model.
It's just no crits. It doesn't stop mods.
Yeah,
well, fine. He's got most of her.
Yeah, he's got Domino's defense.
Yeah, I think
he's got one more hit point than Domino. Doesn't get her critical effect, but he does have fast healing. I mean, he seems reasonably tough, but I mean, really, the only reason I think if he didn't have the place, though, does this model ever see the table?
I think the place is key, so maybe not.
100%. It's totally different conversation without it, right? That's half his kit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Place.
So when I got
even more,
when I got done reading it, just like Parker was talking about, I went back and was like, well, I'm sure I just skipped over it. It must be a gainer instead of a builder. That's got to be the reason why this character's okay. Like, nope, he's still got a builder.
Oh, by the way, a builder that is like a venom pull.
It's just a range 3 version of Daredevil's baton throw, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's more dice, but worse because it doesn't ignore cover and line of sight. But yeah, reel in is obviously good, but it's wild hit, which is obviously less likely. So you're talking about like a 1 in 3 chance roughly of triggering it. It's only range 3. I don't know. I just see a lot of his kit being like cool convenience stuff and not actually like directly relatable to the game impact. Because like healing factor 2 only matters if people are trying to hurt him. Why would they be trying to attack this model?
Because they need him to not be placing your other models range 3.
But that's not going to accomplish that. That's going to accomplish the opposite. You're going to attack him. He's going to place everybody because you give him power.
Well, all he's got to do is get lucky on the first turn with power, and he's got his kit online, right? So
he's got to do 2 damage, maybe.
I meant for turn 2, right? I don't really.
Oh, sure, yeah.
No, I'm talking
that's
for
way
turn
more
2.
likely.
He's also. We need to know what size base he's on because he's
It's gonna be at least a medium.
He's a small mover.
Yeah, I would be shocked.
There
if
should
he's
be
not a medium.
Yeah, there should be a picture of him next to Elsa. Let me see.
Well, the way they've done it in recent times is they kind of resize it for the sake of the box and like
it is a
symmetry.
medium.
Okay.
No, but if you look at the base itself, you can see by the base detail which base it is.
Okay.
And so this is a medium base.
Yeah.
So he's on a medium at range 3. He is speed short. So I don't know that actually guarantees him an attack. I think it does if you're basically deploying across from the objective they're standing on.
Absolutely does.
Yeah.
Except he's not going to be able to place turn 1, so it doesn't really matter.
That's what I'm saying. It's the place is a lot less relevant because you can't do it on the first turn. And so
that doesn't mean it's not relevant, but yeah.
It is way less relevant. Like Lockjaw, the fact that he brings it online turn 1 is a big part of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it's not a good ability. It's clearly the best thing about his character by a landslide. It's just like a 3-cost ability on a 3-pointer is a big deal. Like that is not guaranteed for that character to get that power.
Can I tell you guys where I'm most excited to put Man-Thing? And I just really, really want to real bad. I will not like it while I do it because I have to play a 3-point tax for it. But I think this will be hilarious in Strucker Hydra with Scientific Method. He's a healing factor 3-coster, so he can get Scientific Method. He gets extra defensive dice, and if you are close enough and you start doing All Who No Fear, when he applies the Incinerate, he will heal as well on top of healing factor. Like it is, I think he will sing with Strucker Hydra, and if you wanted to, you could double down easily on Scientific Method. I really like the idea, but again, people already don't want to attack him for the reasons you guys said, so I don't know if it actually works because it just doubles down. I'm just not going to attack him. But
I'm not a big fan of bringing Zola unless you kind of have to. I don't know if that's enough to have to. Like, I think the Nebula play with Scientific Method is better.
Yes, it is.
Because it's threatening to them, right? They have to deal with it. I don't know that this guy is that threatening.
No. Nothing special attack-wise.
And, like, the healing is not irrelevant, but if you just, like, wait for him to activate, which he's going to want to activate fairly early in the turn for the place, if he can help it. So he's going to activate, he's going to place, assuming you don't need to deal with that model he just placed, and you are going to attack him. You're talking about him healing 1 or 2 points from the Strucker leadership at that point on. He's only got 6 health, 3s in most defenses, no damage reduction. I think this guy's actually going to die pretty quickly. Like, the no crits is relevant, but it's not. I don't know if it's enough to move the needle a large amount.
I think if it's enough to keep him alive for one turn to allow him to then activate with healing factor, I mean...
Sure, it could matter, for sure. I don't know. I think the only reason you would see this model get played is for the place, and I think the place not being online till round 2, and even then you have to activate him first to do the place, that's rough. That's a lot of investment for a 3-pointer when you could just have Lockjaw, who's got that online, and he's got... If you want to activate said 3-point model on the round 2, you just Doppler bark somebody, and you're like, oh, now I'm actually contributing, as opposed to not really contributing.
If you needed more reasons to play Man-Thing, would you like to know his tactics card?
Also, I just fucking love it, is that your whole plan was like, alright, I'm going to activate him, and you just fucking brick the attack roll, so he doesn't even get the power, so you're like, your whole plan is shot.
Yeah. Are you willing to talk about his tactics card now? I'm curious.
I haven't read it yet, so yeah, let's see it. What's it called?
Dimensional Quagmire.
Oh my god.
I think when I read this card...
Everything with Quagmire in the name is always fucking...
When I read this card, the first thing I thought was, I wonder if Aaron gives us really high marks. I hope he does. I'm curious. So I'm really interested, Aaron, specifically in what you think about this card, because I feel like you would either love this card or hate this card, and there's no in between. So I'd love to know how you feel.
Should I read it now, or should I wait?
No, yeah, you can go ahead if you'd like.
Okay, I'll read it.
As you read, if you feel your brain turning into a Rube Goldberg machine, or like literally watching the description of a Rube Goldberg, that's what this card is.
Really?
Yeah, I kind of disagree with that. I think I know why you're saying it. But,
well, it's the way that it reads. It's like this.
Oh no, I think it's pretty straightforward.
This. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I think it does work actually, but it's just so many ifs that have to happen.
Okay, when you say works, define what you mean.
What do you mean?
I don't want to jump down your throat if you just mean something I don't think you mean.
No, what I mean is like there's just so many commas in the second sentence. There's just what I mean. Unlike some things, just
it's no mental domination, so I think it's fine.
Okay.
I don't think this card works at all. I think it's terrible.
Okay,
this card is awful.
I'm curious where Aaron sits in it. I'm curious.
I think this is one you're gonna have to test because it can be super good. You want why do I have to attack this guy? Well, because if I move, I end up actually not moving.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all going to be game state dependent. Like you might be totally fine moving and staying within 3. Do you only get placed if you go outside of 3? I don't remember.
Yes. You only get placed if you walk outside of 3 and they win a 50-50 roll. And it's only the first time.
Oh, and by the way, it's not that you lose your movement; it's that you get placed within 3 of Man-Thing. So
the big part is they pick where you get placed. That's big.
Yeah, so if you walk away, you could send somebody like fucking range 8 to the other side of Man-Thing.
Here we go. Yeah. I thought it said a move action. It just says movement. So it is better than I thought it was. But you can still just displace Man-Thing, and it doesn't work. Or you can daze Man-Thing, and it doesn't work. Or you could just not be trying to move away from him, because why would you be trying to move away from him?
Does it have to get played on his turn?
In the power phase, cost 2.
Power phase. So that's even better. So you just place him, he just moves right back.
It's even better.
That's true. You'll get one turn of... You could ignore for one turn by getting advanced or thrown, but then... Well, actually, I don't know if throw... You'd have to throw medium, right, to get him outside of range 3 of you, probably. So...
First time... Right, this character's not until the end of the round, once per turn. The first time... Each turn, an enemy model character begins a movement within 3 of Man-Thing and ends that movement not within 3 of Man-Thing. Roll a die. And then on a 50-50, you place the character within 3 of Man-Thing. So, you could trigger it in multiple ways.
You could trigger it by throwing the enemy character outside of 3.
You could also...
It's only on enemy turns.
Really? I thought you said once per turn.
No.
First time each turn, an enemy character begins a movement within 3.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, me throwing your ass is beginning a movement.
You have to throw him out of 3 of Man-Thing? Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's good.
Well, you're already displacing them. Why would you displace them to a place you don't want them to be?
Well, maybe I do want to throw them.
And then what if you fail the roll and it doesn't work? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
I
Why
could
would
have
you burn a tactic slot on this?
not for that, but for the other reasons. Like obviously your opponent wants to escape to go do something else and attack someone else.
Mhm.
And
No, like
now
so
they can't
the
even
most
go ahead.
the most viable thing that I've even thought of so far is it keeps the web warriors from running away. Except that they just throw Man Thing out of range and walk away anyway. And so it doesn't matter.
You're assuming that they automatically have all the
The
tools
power
they
to
need
do
to make
it.
it happen.
Yep.
Yeah. You're just like, and Man Thing, if he doesn't pick up a point, or if he picks up, a point that gives him power, then he gets to do this on turn 2, right? It's not like he has to work really,
Sure,
really
so
hard.
you have to not pick it up extract and then also do nothing else to the game. Because he's not going to then have power to do anything else.
Wait, presumably you will only have moved him twice, right? So he'll be in a position to do this. This is the thing he's doing to the game state, right? He's making it difficult, and your opponent has to decide how they do things, and they have to again make their turn aware of Man Thing. I think this is a turn 2, or I think it's a turn 2 probably.
I don't
two
see a
play.
lot of people fleeing from your army on turn 2. Even the web warriors usually aren't doing it on turn 2. They're doing it on turn 3. And I guess maybe if they're just moving up to pick something up and move away, but they just moved to max 3 from Man Thing, who's probably more forward than the rest of your models, and they're like basically out of range of everybody else anyway.
Let me paint you a word picture. On turn 1, your model that picked up, your opponent's model that picked up a extract token on the midline took 5 damage and didn't fall down. They have priority, so they have the ability to just leave with their model and go heal off an extremist or with some other effect, and they're going to be gone to the wind because you didn't kill them on turn 1. So you play Dimensional Quagmire, and now if they leave, there's a chance that not only does their model with 1 health left have to be placed according to your placing, but you've secured that extract functionally and taken away their model that they put on the midline. I feel like that is worth it, right?
So, but this model has to not have its own proactive movement and no ability to move Man Thing or to daze Man Thing. And it has already gained at least 5 power, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of models that fit that prototype that get played. Like, if I have power, I can't move Man Thing, I can't move myself, and I can't do anything from where I'm standing. Why are they in my list?
I think there are lots of models that pick up midlight extracts that are not automatically going to displace Man Thing. I think that's most models.
But if they don't, then they can move themselves generally, or they can daze Man Thing.
But they can't.
They can do one of those 3. They can either kill Man Thing.
I know you
Man
really,
Thing,
really want
themselves.
Dimensional Quagmire to be bad, and you want to make
no,
this
I don't. I
actually
actually
I don't think it's that bad.
I don't think it's worthless. It has a mechanic that does something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying I don't think it's that useful. This isn't Heave Ho where it's just objective dog shit. Like, this isn't Strength and Cunning. It's this card has a mechanic that works. I just don't see it having value. How many games out of 100 do you think you bring this card in your 10 and it makes your squad? Then out of those games, how many do you think it gets played? And of those games, how many do you think it actually affects the game in a meaningful way? I'm just saying that I think that number is very low.
Can I think both of you guys are correct?
If it was automatic and didn't have the die roll, I think I'd be with you. It's about 50% playable. Like, half the games you bring it, you'll put it in your squad. But because it's random, like, you could put all of that, you're burning a tactics card and power just to do nothing. Like, the fact that that's even possible is, in my opinion, makes it not viable.
I think one of the things about this card is, you're right, the 50% is a thing. And your opponent could just say, I'm just going to take the 50% chance. But we know, in this game, like most games, as soon as you play it during the power phase, your opponent goes, oh, I can't just count on the automatic, right? How many players love to say, I'm going to make sure this happens. Well, now they can't make sure anymore. Yes, it's on a coin flip, and they could do that, but they don't want the coin flip anymore. So that may change their play. I think most of the time when you play this card on somebody in the scenario I listed earlier where they've got a low health model on the midline, instead of activating that low health model on the midline first, they do something else, anything else, and now I get to kill that 1 health model on the midline and take their extract. Because they look at the situation and go, I can't guarantee that using my precious actions is going to actually result in me staying alive. So yeah. Aaron, we interrupted you so many times. I want you to be able to give 2 cents. Go for it.
I don't think you need to plan for turn 2 leaving a model on 1. I think that's living in some scenario that you randomly created for yourself. I think there are plenty of scenarios like that naturally occur throughout the game in which it would be great to have this card. Oh, your optimum turn 1 play is to double move Black Cat, and sit on the far point. What if you can't? Or what if doing so resulted in you maybe losing Black Cat because I place you, right? So in that respect, Parker, I think you're absolutely correct. But Brandon, you're also right in that I think this card, there are times when this card is going to do nothing, not have a viable play in the game you're in. But given the lack of good tactics cards in the game right now, I think it makes your 10, at least for testing. It absolutely makes your 10 for testing. And it probably makes your 10 after that, just based on probably the available cards you've got. And you probably play it, 35% of your games.
We don't know what affiliations he's in, right? We're just assuming Midnight Sun so far.
Was he part of the Timelines doc? I do not remember.
Well, but just the fact that he's a supernatural model usually
Yes.
means Midnight Suns.
We are highly confident he'll be Midnight Suns. Not 100% sure. He's also coming in a box with the new leader.
Exactly. Elsa, yeah. I just don't see Man-Thing making rosters, honestly. Like, I could see him in Inhumans a little bit, but they already have Lockjaw, so that kind of invalidates that. I just don't see him being that useful. And then on top of this card, I'm hearing what you're saying. I think the fact that there's so few relevant tactics cards nowadays, but like if you're playing Midnight Suns, you can have the Immortal Hulk package, which that alone burns like 4 tactics cards. And so I just think I don't know. I don't see this getting played at a competitive level anytime soon. I just don't see. The problem is I actually want cards like this to be useful because like I think the runaway strategy is absolutely bullshit and bad for the game. And so if you're making cards that stop that, I'm all for it. But I don't think this works.
Okay. I just confirmed using the Timelines roster. He is in Midnight Suns. So we know that. For the sake of argument.
Anyway. Aaron, do you have a scale for this card?
Off the cuff, it's going to be a 2.
Wow. I was going to go with -7.
Okay. That's
So you're a little higher than me.
Yeah.
I love disruptive cards that don't take a lot to play. This is, 2 power on a character during the power phase. I feel like that's a really cheap cost to disrupt.
I would agree with you a lot more if it wasn't on a 3-pointer that desperately wants a lot of power. Like, I think Man-Thing without power is a huge disappointment. Man-Thing with power is potentially good. And so the fact that you're walking into round 2, because he has to move forward, or else this card's worthless because it happens to the power phase. So it locks you into double moving with Man-Thing and not picking up an extract. So you have a dead 3-point model on the first turn. Just so you can play this card on turn 2. And then it has to do something, or else it's like worthless. The whole thing didn't work. And then you're walking into the rest of round 2 having Man-Thing with 0 power. So if you do activate him earlier in the turn to try and use his place, you're hoping he does 3 damage, or he's, again, doing basically nothing. And so that's the line of play I don't like. If he was, Rocket and just had an amazing attack and that's all he was there for, sure. I'm much more on board. If he was Lizard and he was super tough, so he's contesting your secures, sure, I kind of get that too. But I don't think he's super tough. I think he actually dies pretty easily. And I think that this card is extremely situational.
Man, down on Man-Thing. You heard it here first.
Brandon, I'm down on Florida Man-Thing.
Brandon is really confident. It's funny. You usually don't come out of the gate.
Please prove me wrong.
Yeah, you usually don't come out of the gate this hot negative on characters. Actually, I'm usually the one who says I don't think they'll get played. This actually surprises me a little bit.
I say a lot. I don't think stuff will get played. Mainly, I think tactics cards, though. I think is usually where I'm more negative. I want to see the good and stuff. I just outside of the broken place, I don't think he has any useful abilities. And his place is amazing. It's fucking amazing, but I just don't see how he powers it outside of getting attacked a lot. Like, there will be games where he has amazing times because people attack him, allow him to heal, and then spend his power. And then, so yeah, every time he activates and isn't dead, it's a good turn for Man-Thing. But I think good players will realize that pretty quickly, and they will only attack him when he's going to absolutely die. And then he'll just be injured and then die.
I don't know, not exploding crits. I don't know how you just auto kill a 6 health model.
I mean, there's multiple people that have that mechanic, and they die reasonably easy.
I mean, Domino can just die.
Domino is reasonably tough, but Domino survives because of her defensive crits, not just because you don't explode crit. That helps.
I mean, it's both, but yeah.
It limits spikes, which is definitely an important thing. I mean, maybe I'm way off.
Well, Man-Thing Meta 2025. Heard it here first.
Do it. Fucking do it. I dare you.
So yeah, that was the news. The one thing about the news that I will say, the last thing about the news I'll say, is that Elsa was not part of the news. As soon as I saw that Man-Thing was posted, I was like, and Elsa? And Elsa? And no, not Elsa. Okay, I guess I'll wait a little bit more.
You got honey-dicked.
Yeah, I was very, very, very excited.
I assume you know the release day?
No, I don't know the exact date.
It's January 31st, I believe. I'll double check. It's very late January because they said they were not going to release anything that could potentially upset the meta for LVO. So they're intentionally waiting till LVO is over because that was an issue last time.
That's
what?
I'm what?
What was released last time?
It was, I can't remember. I want to say because the core set came out in like October. Something came out like the week before.
Maybe a model, but nothing that was like disruptive to the meta.
Yeah, I don't think, but it's mostly just that people were worried about it, and because the crisis pack was on the horizon, people were worried, and so they announced their January release cycle. I'm looking up. I heard it was January 31st, which I don't even know what day of the week that is.
It's Friday.
It is a Friday, so that would.
I just put it on my calendar.
Here, yeah, I'm looking it up. Just give me a second, because you have to log in now, because they won't just show it to the public. Okay, it is Man-Thing, Elsa, and Nova and Yondu come out January 31st. Boom. And then as far as why, I only heard it was because of LVO. People were worried.
I'm adding this in my calendar.
Unless you heard that from them, I call BS.
I heard that through the grapevine, but they told me the AMG said it, so I don't know if it's true or not. That's just third-party information. It could be completely wrong. It could be 100% correct. I don't know. I don't care. Okay. I'm just telling you what I heard.
All right, it's on the calendar. Going to spend money at my local game
wait,
shop.
Hold on. There's a note here on CP186 has been delayed. That is Man-Thing and Elsa. Can I get more information on that? Oh, yeah. It says here, fuck Parker. That's the only note. I don't. It's weird.
So I didn't buy it, but I did buy it, and I hate that about myself because I care so much about.
You bought it. You bought that it was delayed.
I bought it was delayed for half a second. Yeah, I couldn't not.
Got him, ladies and gentlemen. We got him.
I'm not gonna lie. I actually am really excited for Yondu and Nova as well. I am as a young man. Nova was one of my favorite characters. Like, I loved Nova when I was younger. And having come back to some of the Guardians plus Nova stuff as an adult, it's baller. So I am excited for Nova specifically. And Yondu also has always been cool. Yondu...
He's supposed to be like Space Captain Marvel, right?
No.
Okay.
He's actually there's been two main ones in the Marvel Universe. This is Richard Rider, I'm pretty sure they're putting in. But no, he's actually he's very analogous to Green Lantern. If Green Lantern was a teenager when he got his powers, like kind of hot-headed and rebellious and wanting to make his mark on the universe, part kind of drawn into a law enforcement agency for the galaxy, but being unwilling to follow all the rules. That's Richard Rider, which is very similar to Hal Jordan's story.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. But Nova is. What am I trying to say here? Is Nova like a mantle that they have as like the hero of the Nova Corps, or is it like he is just got the name because people know of the Nova Corps? I'm just curious how, like, is this like a... Because I kind of assumed it was like he was an amalgamation of all of the Nova people. Like, but I don't really know the origin story here. Is it he's just a superpowered being that they found that joined the Nova Corps, or they gave him his powers?
So
or...
if you're a member of the Nova Corps, you have a title, and they're called Centurions. That's like the combat branch, or Centurions, and they're given powers that are almost always they're technology derived. From the helmet is the primary like unit, and from the helmet, like all the other like the costumes and the powers kind of derive. It's the control unit for the power system basically, and it's gravimetric powers is the idea. You're bending like using basically gravity to fuck with energy and space. It's how they can fly incredibly quickly and manipulate energy at the rate they do. A Nova Corps Centurion is pretty hardcore. So I believe he originally got. I'm trying to figure out why.
I know in the Guardian movie they kind of portrayed them as dopes, but
yeah. So he got his powers. The original Richard Rider got his powers very similar to Hal Jordan. A Nova Corps member was fleeing an incident and landed on Earth and gave him the helmet, and then he had powers on Earth as Nova for a while before even realizing that he was part of a larger organization. Like he didn't understand he was till later.
Oh, so you mean he used the helmet on Earth before he realized there was the group?
Yes, yeah.
It wasn't that he was like a mutant that he got the helmet.
No, he was just a regular person who acquired it from a dying alien. Exactly. Think Hal Jordan. It's
just Hal Jordan. I get it, but okay. So on a power scale, Nova is just another Centurion. That he's not like a big deal.
Oh no! In the comics, he has been upgraded like several times. Like
Gotcha.
He is in the comic books. He's kind of like Hal Jordan. After he became aware of the Corps, he was basically called to space, where he did a lot of his stuff in the cosmic part of the Marvel universe. And there he received upgrades like multiple times.
Gotcha.
So he has been upgraded many times. He does have more power and authority as a Nova Corps member than other Nova Corps members.
Okay. So, how about a threat level prediction for the remaining models that we haven't seen yet? So, Elsa, you think Elsa's going to be a 4-pointer?
Absolutely.
I would initially have guessed a 3.
I don't think they're going to print leader 3s anymore.
I mean, I could get behind that from a game balance standpoint, but I don't know that I believe them. I don't believe that they would not do that. I think they'd print a 2-point leader if they thought it made sense. I will tell you from the timelines list, they like 5-point leaders.
I think she'll be a 4-pointer based upon like trend in the game. I think she could be a 3-pointer based upon like what I know about her, but she absolutely could be a 4-pointer too. They could just turn her up.
I just find it odd that any regular human without superpowers should be a 4-pointer, but that's just kind of like the way my
Silver
brain
Sable
works. Yeah, exactly.
Well, she does have a superpower, like a really sincere one actually, but
money.
No, she has the Bloodstone.
No, I meant Silver Sable.
Oh, Silver Sable.
Yes, I understand. But was the stone make her like immune to magic or something?
No, she's completely invulnerable. You cannot hurt her.
I know which faction I'm playing as soon as she releases.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how they're going to interact with that in the game.
They're just going to give her damage reduction.
I'm guessing they're just going to give her damage reduction, and it makes me really sad because the point
it's going to be invincible.
Yeah, the point. I would like for her to have something cool like Immortal Hulk, maybe, or something. I don't know what they would do, but I have a feeling it'll just be DR1, maybe insanely DR2. That would be cool, but
no.
I'm just
really,
thinking,
you think?
Well,
I think if she's lucky, she'll get spending damage reduction. If she's unlucky, she'll get Invincible Iron Man, where it's just like minimum 1.
I think the spending damage reduction makes sense. I know for the game balance they can't like push her that much, but that is her only superpower. Is just that she can't ever take damage. And I think
I could see maybe if she's like 5 health on the front, she has DR2, and on the back she loses the gem and she's no DR.
I don't know.
I could see that, but even that I think is a stretch.
Mm-hmm. I think she'll be a 4.
Okay, I agree. I think she'll probably be a 4.
I hope they do something better than just DR1. I feel like they will. I am so nervous she's going to be generic shooter number 5 or 17 at this point, but we'll see.
I mean, could be worse. She could be Sin, right? So, I mean, there's that.
If she was a 3-point leader in Midnight Suns, I don't know if that would be bad. Maybe it would be.
Okay, so Yondu, 3 points.
Yes.
Nova, 5 points.
I think he'll be at least 5 unless they purposely like turn him down for some reason. But in terms of scale of the game, he's way up there in power scale. So I think he would be
Like stronger than Captain Marvel?
well in some, depending on like what iteration, the costume they have him in is his more modern costume, where he is the host to most of the Nova Force. Like most of the power the Nova Corps has, he has. So if they have that version of him, which is the War of Kings version, which is the kind of the theme they're going with, the War of Kings theme, he should be 5 or 6 at least. 6 is totally possible if they're going to go full ham on him.
So where are you putting your eggs?
I'm going to put it in 5.
Okay.
I think they're going to put him around Captain Marvel 2. I think that's where they'll put him around.
Well, the pose is similar, so it's got to be. Alrighty. Alright, let's move on real quick. And last thing we had today was we were just going to talk about tournament formats a little bit. This is a conversation me and some of our locals had at our most recent tournament. We were just, kind of shooting the shit at the event and talking about different game modes that we like and different game modes that we thought could be really fun. So just going over the ones that already kind of exist. Standard, obviously, and then we've got Battle Realms, which I know our local meta plays a lot. Hopefully your metas out there have also tried them. We think it's a really fun format. It's not probably the new standard, where it's something you want to do every time, but we think we run like 4 Battle Realms tournaments last year, and I think we might, depending on how the new mission pack comes out, I don't know if we're going to keep doing quite as many, but we'll see how it goes. And then there's also character draft happens a lot at like larger events. And then obviously we've got the other timelines event.
You say character draft happens a lot. I've heard of it the one time ever.
Probably like thousands, I would guess.
Okay, I'm just out of the loop. I got it. Thank you.
I know that I think there's been 3 or 4 different conventions that have offered it multiple years. Now, I don't think it's a popular format, mostly because it's tedious and it's hard to set up. And I think more importantly, a lot of them involve you borrowing models, which a lot of people don't like, either on the borrowing or the receiving or any combination of that. I know I personally don't like lending or borrowing models just because it's always awkward when one gets broken. Kenny! Anyway. So, talking about the new possible formats that we kind of talked about over the weekend, the one that I've always talked about doing recently has been, there's an old format from War Machine that involved like a pick ban format for lists. And I think it adapts really well to the mission selection in this game. And so basically it is when you would normally pick your missions and so you shuffle them up, put them face down like everybody does. Instead, both players would just put them face up. You just reveal your missions to each other. One player, the normal player with priority, would choose the color they want. So you discard the missions that neither player needs. Then starting with the player with priority, they'd look at the 3 missions their opponent has and just ban one. Get rid of it. So let's say you're playing Researcher, Legacy Virus, Alien Ship. They choose to ban Researcher. Then you do the same for their missions. And so if they're playing Gamma, Demons, and Scoundrels, you're like, well, I don't want to play on Scoundrels. So you ban Scoundrels. Then you look at the 2 remaining missions you have, and you just pick which one you want. So neither player is playing the mission they want to play the most, but also neither player is playing the mission they want to play the least. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So each player is playing the missions that they are in the middle ground on. And so I think that would curve our current issue of like, well, Researcher Thanos ruins the game. You're like, well, yeah, that's fair. Criminal Scoundrels ruins the game. You're like, yeah, that's fair. And so you just never have to worry about that. You can still put it in your list if you want, if you think it's your best mission. But if you pull Web Warriors Criminals and neither player hates Scoundrels in this example, then you can play Scoundrels. You're worried about Brotherhood on Senators? Well, you don't have to worry about that. One mission shouldn't ruin the game for either player. And so you're just never playing those apocalyptically bad situations. You're never living in dreamland either, where you get everything lined up perfectly for you. And so both players, I think, are on even footing. And when you're picking your colors, obviously, you'll play that in your head a little bit. And if you're playing, you put Researcher in, just try and bait out somebody's bans, because really you want to play Legacy Virus or Hammers or something. And so, a lot more strategy goes into that if you know about it ahead of time. And so I think that'd be a fun format to try. And it doesn't really change the way the game works now. It just adds another layer.
I can get behind that.
I really like formats that don't mess hard with the actual game you're playing. Like like as fun as like the add-ons are, like on local game night where like you drive the cars and that kind of stuff. I don't like
one shots.
Yeah, the one shots. As long as I don't like those, playing with those, because it changes the game I'm planning on playing when I'm getting ready to play, right? But if you told me this is what I'm going to do soon, it would give me so much more it would give not so much more, but it'd give me something new to work with whenever I'm list building, whenever I'm preparing for the tournament, which is one of my favorite things. So anything that lets me think about things before the tournament starts, like that, I'm totally down for. As long as I'm less down for the ones where something random or outside of my control happens during the game. Those are my least favorite kind of alternate formats, but it's one of the reasons why I struggle to enjoy drafts, because I can't really prepare for them at all. I don't get to choose what I'm going to do at all because it's all based upon what other people are trying to do to me and what I want to do. We're all working to do things at the same time. I really enjoy drafts for games I don't have big collections for, because then you get to play things you don't always get to play. But something like you're describing, I would like much more than something like a draft.
Okay. So you seem to be okay with this. You kind of said you do like parts of it, and then you said, well, the thing you don't like about it is drafting. So is that a thumbs up, thumbs down?
No, I don't like drafting characters like in a pool.
Because you're affecting the way I'm trying to play the game. Okay.
Right, and I don't get to prepare beforehand. You've like
you still haven't said if you liked it or don't like it.
I like your thing where you're just
there we go.
When I bring 3 missions and there's a different way to select them, that sounds like a great alternate.
That's what I thought you were saying, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, because I thought you started with there's things like drafts, and I just wanted to mention that. Not giant fan of drafts.
It's a draft. It's just a very small pool.
Right.
Anyway, so I also like this one. So next up we have what if the tournament just had set published missions for every round? And so everyone's playing the same mission in the first round. Like first round, let's say we're doing meteors and scoundrels. So that's not legal. Meteors and alien ship. And then round 2 is intrusions and researcher. And then round 3 is Mayor Fisk and senators. And so it's published in the tournament info in advance. So you're intentionally bringing lists to try and play on those specific missions.
I don't like this one.
You don't like this one. Tell me why you don't like it.
Because I think a good aspect of list design is being able to handle a myriad of scenarios. And how your opponent's teams interact with those scenarios. I would be a big fan of the tournament organizer pulling them and making everyone play the same missions.
I'm confused. What do you mean?
So don't publish ahead of time, but you can announce. Round 1, yeah. I don't like the publishing ahead of time. That's my issue. I think everyone can play in the same things, but I don't like the pre-publishing.
I just feel like that would be really rough, bringing a roster not knowing what missions were going to be in the pool. What if I just posted the missions in the pool, but not the combination? So it's like,
how is that different than today?
What do you mean?
Like right now, I don't know what missions I'm going to end up playing into at a game tomorrow night because I don't know what my opponent's going to bring.
Right, but you know what half the missions are going to be in every game.
Sure.
And so the problem I have is, like, and I think a lot of people feel this way right now, is the missions are very samey, where it's like, oh, I did, Montesi Lakers vs. Alien Ship. Like, well, it's basically the same fucking mission. And then Secure, same thing. We're doing Mayor Fisk, Intrusions, and Gamma. Like, they're not really different enough to really shake it up. And so, and you have to worry about, like, the really bad options as well, like Researcher and Gamma or Senators. So I just thought if we went through and tried to intentionally cultivate, well, here's a good combination of 4 in a combination that is complementary of each other in every round. Not too heavy on attrition, not too heavy on scoring on any of them. Just a good middle ground, but in different combinations. That would make people try to build lists to succeed at each one of those levels. And so that was the idea, is that it would encourage interesting, thought-provoking list design, where it's like, oh, well, I know there's no researcher, but I also know there's no senators, or so. And then it's like, well, this round I'm worried about, there's 2 pay to flips in this tournament. So I need to be able to play pay to flips, but also I need to be able to play this extract, this secure, and so in this combination on these point totals. Because you would know what the point options were at every round as well. So you just look and go, oh, there's no 16. I don't need to build a 16 point list. It's not possible. And so I just think it would lead to interesting roster design.
I would absolutely play it.
But you don't like it still?
Jury's out. How about that?
Okay.
I think you're
just
on.
real quick.
Okay.
Would you prefer just saying, here's the 4 extracts and the 4 secures that are legal for this event, not telling them the combination it's going to be in?
I would prefer that over what you suggested, but I would still,
Okay.
I think, rather have everything be possible.
Okay. I just think it'd be unfair to have like researcher or scoundrels in there and not tell anybody in advance that this is what you need to be ready for. Or like, hey, you don't need to be ready for senators. Like,
why?
It's just not something that's going to happen.
Why can't we? Why can't you just prior to round 1, you pull 2 random missions from the packs? You're like, everyone was playing on X and Y. Good luck.
So is the way you were looking at it before is my opponent needs to be able to play on every mission. What I'm looking at is how well can you build one roster to play on these 4 missions? And so maybe there's a correct answer, maybe there's not. Parker, what'd you have?
I think I would really like to see the event happen, actually. This is one of those, I think we could theorize how it works a bunch, but actually putting it on the plate could actually be interesting, because I think players will, like, one of the things it does do is it de-incentivizes SKU lists, right? Mm-hmm. If you are curating your missions correctly. Because if you do Aaron's idea, which is you draw 2 randoms, then somebody could come in with a scenario SKU and go, I'm just going to play my scenario SKU every round and hope I never get a bad combo, right?
Yeah.
Because then I'm losing 1 round automatically, but I guess I do, right? But I think if you specifically curated it and you said, I'm always going to have, just top of my head, like 5 scoring points on a board.
Like you wouldn't worry about having senators and scoundrels on the same map. And you're like, there's 11 fucking points on this map.
Right,
and then over on the Montesi, demons, it's like, there's 5.
Right.
You're
so, yes. So the idea is that you would curate it so that it was, I think I think you do curate it so that each round has actually a more of a balanced. So you're planning on playing 4
wouldn't draw
rounds.
It randomly, but I think Aaron has an idea with the not publishing it. Yeah. I personally would want to at least try it once with publishing and maybe try it once without. I just think it's if everyone's on the same footing, it's better. But if you publish it, casual players will be at a disadvantage because they won't put the thought in to try and figure out how to like maximize their list for those 4 combinations.
Yeah.
Or they might not be able to because they don't have the experience. Right?
Yeah, I actually like the idea of keeping it secret. I don't mind the idea of telling people, there's not going to be 11 points scoreable ever. Like, there's not
say
going to
like, here's the point totals that will be available maybe. Or
right.
like, here's the maximum and the minimum point value per mission.
Right. Like something like that, you could do that. Mm-hmm. And that way people don't know precisely what it is, but they do know that they're not incentivized by skewing one way or the other, right? They're incentivized by being able to deal with whatever's happening.
Yeah. And you like potentially see missions you don't see a lot. Like, I would say Paranoia isn't played a lot. Even less played right now is Mayor Fisk. Mm-hmm. Sword Base also. Like, you'd see those missions that you don't see as much, but you wouldn't see them all the time. It would just be like the one time.
Mm-hmm. I actually really like this idea. I like it a lot. Mm-hmm. But I think the compromise of hidden rounds, but maybe purposeful curation is maybe the way to start.
I'm actually really excited to try some of these. There's a couple more I had here, which are less good. But I really don't want to have the last tournament before LVO be some weird one. I want it to be like there for practice for people that are going to LVO. So we probably won't do these till the first weekend of February. And then there might be a mission pack out. We don't know. All right. Next one I had was, what if we made a rule about squad affiliation, like maximums and minimums for characters included? So just initially I said, well, what if your squad had to be 100% affiliated? Not the whole roster, just the squads you field. And then I immediately said, that's probably too restrictive. Because it's different from affiliation battle, because affiliation battle is your entire roster. And so you could play, like, X-Force and Weapon X, because there's enough character overlap that you'd be fine. Same thing with, like, Spider Foes, Criminals, and Cabal. there's so much overlap there. You could play 3 affiliations and still play 100% affiliated. In fact, like a lot of my squads end up being 100% affiliated anyway. And then I thought about, well, what if we just max it at 1 unaffiliated character per squad? Would that help anyway? No. Aaron's shaking his head.
In order to help, what problem are you trying to solve?
I think I'm just trying to... The idea with this was just keep lists interesting and fresh. And so I think anytime you tweak the squad composition rules, you'll get different lists, which might be good. Because I think a lot of the people in our local area are kind of tired of seeing the same thing over and over again.
I mean, restricting it to 1 splash does nothing to Red Skull 3 Thanos Cabal. And, okay, you can just get fucked. Doesn't do anything
that's probably true.
to Asgard, Thor 2. Like, I strongly believe that the meta
That's fair.
is defined by 6+ threat models and stealers. There are outliers. You can play Wide Weapon X and do things. You can play... there are a bunch of lists that you can play, right? Spider Foes don't fit that paradigm. Inhumans don't fit that paradigm for the most part until you start being like Josh and playing CGR in your fucking Inhumans list. But all of those games are more, I want to say, fair and fun. So unless you're hitting both of those two, I'll call them meta tent poles, hard attrition or hard scenario, it doesn't matter what you're doing. That's what you have to.
So you think
focus
the
on.
line is 6-pointers though, like specifically
Absolutely.
6s?
Absolutely.
Which 6s are? Is it like Hulk, Thanos?
Hulk, Thanos, I-Hulk, CGR is still super good in the right list with the right power gen.
So my fear, and this is the same thing with Jeremy's Limbo League he wanted to run. If you just axe all the 6-pointers, then the 5-pointers just become 6-pointers.
But the 3s in the game can deal with 5s. They can't deal with 6s. I can, in a list, go up against Mephisto or Dracula or Juggernaut, and I can have answers. I can't take Thor 2, because Thor 2 just takes my 3s and eats them for lunch. So you have to have big boys to answer big boys, and it's just a kind of a nuclear arms race to make sure you can counter the stuff that you couldn't otherwise counter. Thanos.
I will definitely agree that like Immortal Hulk and Thanos are like outside the realm of dealable for most like cheap models. There's definitely no question about that. I think that's more of an issue with those 2 models than it is with generic 6-pointers, because there's a lot of 6-pointers that's not a problem about.
There are some 6-pointers that would be totally fine. I agree. Instead of trying to curate a list, I just keep it simple, stupid, and I say no 6 threats.
Yeah, I just think it's really about like those 3 6-pointers that are just practically immortal. That's the problem. Where it's like you shouldn't have practically immortal models in a game of where stuff dies. I 100% agree with the Steelers issue. The problem is I just don't know. Like I see why they created them, and I think they were right that there needs to be an answer for what happens when I'm going to lose the fight. How do I still win the game? And I think they came up with a workable solution. The problem is it's just too prevalent. There's too much of it. And it's not governed by anything. It's like, oh, I'll just steal all your extracts and bypass the game mechanic of how I normally get them. And so you're just spending power to get victory points, which is not okay unless your opponent's doing it also. Which just puts us back to like the original field dressing issue. Well, if we both have field dressing, then it just neither of them do anything. And so all we're doing is just the person who originally got the advantage still has the advantage because we both have the same mechanic. And so it's like, well, if I got up 1 extract and we both steal 2 extracts, we're in the exact same fucking place we started. And so you just have to perform the arms race and go as hard into it as you possibly can. One thing we had talked about for extract steals or drops or anything that forces a model that would not normally to drop an extract is limiting it possibly to like once per game or once per round for all the mechanics governed under the same ability. And so you couldn't use Black Cat to steal an extract and then also use Venom Blast to make somebody drop one in the same round or even the same game if you decide to restrict it to that point. But I think there definitely needs to be something to govern that mechanic because it's just so strong as is.
I could see for simplicity's sake why the once per game thing is an idea. However, I don't think that actually does it because maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like once per game is what is difficult. Maybe it's just because I'm trying really hard to make sure it only happens. I'm trying to make sure to stop it, so most of my opponents only get once per game. But when that once per game can then brew, into the game, it's hard to, stomach even that. But like you said,
Right.
maybe it does need to exist somehow. And if there's zero stealing full stop, if you play, those kind of gatekeeper characters, even the cheaper ones that have DR and healing or both, then it becomes very, very, very difficult to ever get an extract off.
Yeah. So I think originally the way it was kind of intended was, let's say like you have Black Cat is like the Paragon Stealer. So just as an example, the way it was kind of supposed to work is like you would like move long, stand on top of somebody, next turn like either have prio or survive the initial attack, and then you would just like steal and extract and walk away twice. And so it's kind of like I'm going to give up a model in the attrition game to go up 1 point on extracts. So that's kind of how it was supposed to work. But obviously it's been used far more effectively than that at this point, and like the models that are stealing are even better. Like you've got robbery and like new Black Cat and all this stupid bullshit. Like we've got so many tactics cards were effectively banned because of the mechanics issues with these abilities. So what if instead of governing the fact that it makes you drop and steal your extracts, what if we just changed the mechanics entirely and said anytime you would force somebody to drop or steal an extract, you instead apply a condition to them. We'll call it like, I don't know, distressed, or it doesn't matter. You have been debuffed. And during the next cleanup phase, while you have this debuff on you, you don't score points on extracts. You still have it, it just doesn't earn you points. And so if I walk up, I robber you, I still get to throw you. Same all that happens, but you get a non-scoring token next to you. And so like the extracts you're holding, like they don't count in the control phase for scoring. So it's just a way to prevent your opponent from scoring to 16, but it doesn't give you any points. What do you think about that? Do you hate it? Obviously, massive testing would be needed for anything like that.
I was going to say,
but
I feel like
it's
that's
not
so convoluted, but maybe it's not enough.
Well, I mean, just as the simple concept, instead of me taking the extract, you just don't get points for it this round. And so you protecting your models from the steals is still important if you want to score points, but it's more of like a quagmire type effect, if you will, where it slows you down.
You know what I think it should be? I think they already. I instead of a slowing down, I think it. Maybe I'm wrong. You guys can tell me I'm wrong, but I feel like it should play more like interrogate.
Where it's like I score a point
because I'm next to the character that has like I can score it off of the opponent who's holding an extract. So my opponent gets to score 1 and I get to score 1 because they spent maybe whatever powers on the card, or we can make that version of interrogate cost 4 or something. I don't know, but I think making it always functionally interrogate is better.
So the problem I have with that is the issue we have with scenario teams right now is they are ending games too quickly. That would just speed the game up even further. Because the maximum number of points to allow the game to continue is there has to be 30 or less points scored, and it has to be like 15, no more than 15 per player.
But good.
If we have 2 scenario teams playing each other, they're going to score out even faster because now the person with the extract is scoring and the person without the extract is scoring.
So I think somebody who's playing it cannot get points if they're already holding an extract, right? So that's one stipulation. So they can't. So if they already have an extract and they attempt to do this interrogate type steal, they don't get to score their own extract and their opponents, right? So you don't get to do 2 off 1 model. However, I think it should happen during the cleanup phase, just like regular interrogate. So the idea is that you have to leave your model next to me in order to make this happen at the end of the turn. They have to be alive next to my model, and I had to let that happen. And you don't get to run away with my point. You have to stay next to my list in order to continue to benefit. Because one of the things I don't like about stealing is if you manage priority correctly, you steal with your Black Cat, and you don't probably win that turn. You stole with Black Cat, and then you run away and you score for 2 more turns from the corner.
Mm-hmm.
But making it like interrogate means if it happens only during the cleanup phase and not during the action phase, you must be next to my list when the turn starts. And so you have to stick around to continue to get a benefit from this. I think you're right. I think if you see these kind of abilities, if both players are playing this game and it does accelerate the game maybe and make the game end really fast.
I think it noticeably accelerates the game.
But I would, as the attrition player who doesn't want to automatically lose to 3 Steelers, I would love if they had to stay next to my army and I didn't lose 3 extracts while they gained 3. Because on turn
Parker,
3, if on turn 3 I can kill their model or kill 2 of their models that are trying to do this, and I'm not behind, because in my personal opinion, the scenario lead is the problem. Like how many times I lost to Quentin just the other day in a game, and you came over and you're like, it didn't matter how excellent or how good I was at the end of the game because he already had the lead he needed, right? But he couldn't have that lead.
Built the insurmountable lead. Yeah.
So
that's what I'm trying to say though. Is like you are increasing the number of points allowed in the game. That's going to end it even faster, and so there'll be even less turns for you to fight their models. And so, like, that will just encourage people to build wider and wider lists so that they can, even if you make the caveat of you can't score and interrogate people, they'll just bring more models so that way they can pick up all the extracts with their 2-pointers and then steal with their 3-pointers. And so they're interrogating you while scoring with their cheap models. And because, like, they're already only, like, 2 or 3 points short of winning on turn 3 most turns anyway, that just means they only need to do it once or twice and the game's ending on 3.
Oh. I don't think there's any stealing models that can just hang out in front of my list though and do that 2 or 3 turns. Like they're going to die.
They only need. But that's what I'm saying. They just wait for your models to activate. They move up and stand next to you. But regardless, that what you're suggesting is basically what I suggested, just in reverse. And so instead of if I'm preventing you from scoring by stealing, that would just mean that you're the guy bringing the extract deniers, and you just have like your Black Cat walk up and like hit their guys like, all right, you're not scoring. And so it slows the whole game down and gives you more time for your useful attrition models to do that. I just don't want to get into this big back and forth because we're talking about like random hypotheticals we've proposed, right? This isn't,
we're talking about.
We won't go too deep into it, but off the podcast, I'd love to sit down and talk with you more about this because I think I could convince you that we're basically saying the same thing. Do you guys have any thoughts on potential different formats we could try?
I liked 2 of them. The first one you suggested, which is you get to ban basically ban pick on the missions.
Yeah.
And then I also liked, I really like showing up to I really like that when the TO just pulls 2 missions. And everyone plays those 2 missions.
Would you actually want it to be completely random?
Yeah. Randomize missions and then separately randomize threat value.
I don't like that. I think that at least I hope that a lot of thought went into which missions have which point totals on them, like why the higher point scoring missions tend to have higher threat values and the lower threat scoring missions have lower threat values. Mm-hmm. So I would not want to like randomly end up with 20 points on Researcher Gamma. So like that would be really weird. Not to mention just like getting forced on Researcher Gamma would be a shit for a lot of teams anyway. I just think it kingmakers people a little bit. I think curating the selection of missions would be much better. Now, if you want to say you also then just get to pick a threat total, that's fine too. If I'm like an intelligent person is sitting there and going, I want to combine these 2 missions together because I think it's a fair mission. And it's got good aspects for one side, good aspects for the other side. And then I'm going to say you can either play at 16 or 20. I think that's fine. Because it wasn't just totally random. I think as long as somebody's putting thought into it, I'm fine with it. But I more meant, when I asked, like, did you have any suggestions for something that we haven't already talked about?
Nope.
Sorry, you didn't ask me. Oh, wait.
I asked both of you.
Okay. My suggestion is... I love the fact that this is a comic book game, and I think they've made it really obvious that it's a comic book game. I would love to do an event. You'd probably have to write it yourself. It'd probably, it could be a lot of homebrew. You could borrow some of the stuff they've made for their, the Ultimate Crisis and what are they call? I can't remember the name.
Ultimate Encounters.
Yeah, the Ultimate Encounters. you borrow things from them if you wanted to create like maybe a toned down version, so you don't have to have like a Magneto player all by themselves, but maybe you borrow some effects from those or some of the one shot kind of things and create just a little timeline. Like it's 4 rounds and you play all 4 rounds, but each round is a narrative. So it's just there's a little narrative, and whatever you're doing to contribute to the narrative will make sense. It would require a lot of writing on the TO's part and a lot of willingness to basically, being a GM, you're functionally like GMing a tournament. But I would enjoy that for no other game except this one, because it is based upon a series that I love, comic books, and I think if everyone knew that it was a narrative setting and it was going to be a little miniature 1-day campaign where they got to play through. Bring your favorite superheroes and play with your favorite superheroes through this little campaign where we're going to, assemble the Infinity Gauntlet, and each round is a different gym, or we're going to fight, to contain a symbiote outbreak, or we're going to, whatever it is, like just pick your random favorite thing. I think that would be fun.
It would be really easy to just give it a try, basically, and just do basically a tournament of Ultimate Encounters, and just we're just going to play through 3 or 4 of them today in a lax time period.
I don't like that specifically because to me personally, I would be less excited about that because I could play any one Ultimate Encounter anytime. But I like the idea that it would actually be a narrative. So, and the fact that I as a player would go into it knowing round 1. The person who's running the tournament, and I would volunteer for this if nobody wanted to. It would just read out loud. This is the start of the comic book, and chapter 1. This is your goal this round. We're going to use these missions, and I probably wouldn't do completely off the rails, right? Because it would be really hard. But we're going to call meteors instead of meteors. They're actually this for this round because it fits into the narrative, and this is the extra stipulation we're going to put on the board, like a one shot or something like that, or we're going to borrow this from this crisis. Anyway, I think
I get what you're saying.
I think creating, and the whole point was everything kind of like with the Dungeons & Dragons theme, it's all about narrative, right? You're not trying to make a perfectly balanced thing, you're trying to make a very narrative event.
Well, I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure you've sold Aaron.
I don't think he would ever do anything like that. But
you're absolutely correct. You do know me. Fuck you, Parker. What the hell? You just described my nightmare.
I know it's because, and you said before that these models are just colors on cards. You don't. Yeah. You look at the numbers and the English words, and you give 2 fucks about their actual name.
The biggest problem for me is how could that be a tournament though?
How could it be a tournament?
Yeah, the point is different tournament formats.
Okay, so I think if you wanted to be a tournament, I think you'd build the narrative around a tournament format. So,
I'm just saying, you're saying it's heavily narrative driven. To me, there's a big difference between a tournament and a narrative event. When you go do the Vibranium Heist, we're not playing a tournament of Vibranium Heist. It's just a fun event that you can come play in.
Right.
It has it's not meant to be try as hard as you can. It's more about try and absorb the experience and have fun.
Yeah.
So how about this? Do you know of a game called Warlord, the card game? Mm-mm. It is a loosely D&D based card game that was mass army battles done with cards, and so every card would be a unit, and then you could move them around formations and stuff. It's not really that important. It was based on rolling d20s for attacks and stuff. But the point was there was a tournament format for Warlord called Overlord events. And then beyond Overlords, there was Dragon Lord events. And so during an Overlord tournament, you would play in a Swiss tournament. You'd play however many games till we got an undefeated. And then you would have the final tournament standings. Then somebody brings out, the runner of the tournament brings out the Overlord deck that he's sent by the company, which is a completely fuck-busted over-the-top, super powerful deck with cards that are not tournament legal. And it's intentionally twice as strong as normal shit. And you as the first person at the event, you would have the first opportunity to play against the Overlord. And if you beat them, you won the deck. And so that was the whole format. So what if we just played a normal tournament, but at the end of it, you had to use your roster to play one of the Ultimate Encounters?
Sure.
You lost me at Ultimate Encounter, but go ahead, partner.
Gotcha. Fine.
Yeah, I think it's sure. I think you could. I don't think there's just anything wrong
I'm
with that.
trying to make what Parker wants more of a competitive environment.
Well, if you want to be a more competitive environment, I think you just make the narrative with. You can easily use the Marvel Universe to make a narrative that allows people to play a tournament game, right? Or a more
sure, I can write whatever I want, but how is that going to change the mechanics of the tournament game without unbalancing it? That's the problem I'm having. Like, if I can't cross being competitive, like keeping the competitive integrity of the game as, or as close to it as we have currently, and then also write off the wall batshit crazy. You're playing on Arcade's Battle World, and like there's ping pong balls hitting you, and you're like, okay, well, how do I do all that without making it unfairly random?
And I've already said that I really don't like things affecting my game state, right? Like,
exactly.
I want to plan the list that I'm bringing in for the greatest tactical advantage and the game to be the game. I understand that.
I'm not saying what you're suggesting wouldn't be fun. I'm just saying it's not a tournament.
And for example, you could use the character of the Grandmaster, right? Which is Jeff Goldblum's character from Thor, but he's also, a Marvel character and his whole things are games of chance and skill, right? That's his thing. You could create a tournament that he's running and inviting Marvel characters to, and there's a reason why. Or you could use the Beyonder, right?
I don't need the story background. I can easily come up with that stuff. I'm just saying.
I was almost there. So
implement that into a tournament. Because if I'm not changing the rules, I'm just giving you a printout of background before you play your games. Which, you guys are on Mojo's Battle World. Cool. And so you have to fight these guys or he's going to kill you. Sure, I got it. But, it's not changing the game. That's what I'm saying. How do you simultaneously change the game and not, corrupt its integrity? That's what I'm having.
I guess that you have to make a game called Marvel Crisis Protocol, I guess.
There we go.
That's the problem.
that's kind of what the game already did for us.
And I guess that's... What's the best way to put this?
If you're saying I want a tournament that adds the narrative flair on top of my games, I think that's a fair request. I think there's not a lot of people that do that, and that could be something you want. I think that wouldn't hurt the game in any way. Going, hey guys, the Grandmaster has captured you all and making you fight gladiatory combat against the other heroes. Sure, that doesn't hurt anything. And then maybe at the end there's some little fluffy thing. We have a Grandmaster trophy or something. We could do that. It just doesn't change the mechanics of the game. It's just adding a narrative flair. And so maybe a narrative flair is what you think the game needs.
That's what I'd love for the game to have, yes.
Okay. I'm on board now. I thought you were trying to have me write up, during your game you have to capture the Infinity Gauntlet. Well, yeah, but we can't play a tournament and have everyone have an Infinity Gauntlet. That doesn't work.
No.
Yeah, no, I got you now, though. Okay.
Right. You could call first round Soul Gem round, right? And it doesn't have anything necessarily to do with the round, and you could decide if you want to combine some of the ones we've already talked about into this format, you could do that. I just like the idea of wrapping it in that because in my personal opinion, because we play the game a whole lot, the game eventually does become Aaron's version, which is zeros and ones. And I really don't want to play that game all the time because Marvel, I don't think, is supposed to be played like that. I think they designed it to be played with tons of fluff and flavor dripping all over it.
I actually think that more people should play the Ultimate Encounters more often. I think there's actually a lot of the fun, crazy, Marvel storyline stuff in there that people are missing from playing Marvel. Because I think a lot of people view Marvel as chess with superheroes, and it's not, and it's really meant to be more of the epic feel good game. And so I think doing that more often I think is good. I just think we need to get people motivated to do it.
Okay, I had an idea while you were discussing narrative bullshit for hours.
What? We should never have narrative bullshit. That's my idea.
Stop it. Let Aaron
talk. We need to have an unplanned teams tournament.
Oh, surprise ball and chain.
So you show up, and then it's probably not this, but schoolyard rules. 2 teams, 2 captains. You can either auction draft, or you could just go and pick your teammates.
What if you just get handed a ticket at the beginning of when you register, and then you look up all odd numbers are on a team, all even numbers are on a team.
So that you can do that. It's just going to be imbalanced as to who you have. I think as a captain, you could do some interesting. Okay, who do we have out here? We have 2 Avengers, 1 Cabal, Brotherhood. Okay, we're gonna take the Brotherhood team, right?
There's a lot of hurt feelings down that road.
Whatever, fucking bring your big boy panties. Let's go.
It was an idea. He said, "Do you have an idea?"
This is a terrible idea. But
You
it's
think
That's
an
a
idea.
great idea. Great idea. I don't know what you're talking
I think
about.
I'd be more excited to do a surprise team up. Where we just turn into a two-person... Because you're saying like a whole team versus a whole team?
Yeah, baby. I'm talking a whole
And so
team.
you're just earning points for your team when you win?
Yep.
Or what?
Yep.
Okay. I think it'd be better off to just go like surprise round 2 as a team up. And so you just put all the like... You put a winner from the previous round and a loser from the previous round on a team. And then we just go to straight 2v2 rules where it's like +5 threat. You each get to bring so many models and blah, blah, blah. And then you just play round 2 as if it was a team up game. And then, so it's nobody got to pre-plan or whatever. And then, round 3, maybe you go to 3-person teams where you're playing individual games, or you just go back to singles. You can do all kinds of stuff.
You'd have to have the right numbers for that, but I wouldn't do the third round, but first round and second round I think are pretty good like that.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to know that the TO is the odd man out.
Well, you'd have to have more than odd man out if you want.
You
if you want even
potentially-
numbers of winners and losers and
Correct.
blah blah blah. That's where it gets weird.
Obviously, you still have the chance of a one-person bye. But yeah.
And I see, and I think I'm not trying to harp on it, but I think if you let players know, not necessarily that was a possibility, but that it was going to be a narrative style game where interesting things could happen, then this is a way to warn people that kind of thing could occur. Like, it's a good one to combine together. I think I like it. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
I would be really upset, I think, if I came to a regular tournament and all of a sudden somebody told me I had to have a partner. I think that would
No.
What?
Okay, yeah, you would.
But
it would have
we're
to be
doing that.
announced.
Yes,
We're doing that.
But if you
It's the
told
next
me
tournament.
it was a narrative event where anything can happen, if that's all you told me, then I would be ready for something that's not normal, and I'd be fine. Sure.
Hey, hold on one second. Can you read your message to the podcast? Parker, I sent you a message. I just need you to read it out loud.
Why would I read that out loud?
Can you please read that out loud?
I don't understand what I'm being set up for. This is a trap.
Don't make me read it out loud.
I'm
It'll
being
be
set in a
worse.
trap.
Parker, just read it.
Brandon would like everyone to know that all geekery events are narrative events where anything can happen.
You've been informed. So when you come to the team event next week, just know anything can happen.
Anything has happened. Okay.
I think it'd be just as fun to split everybody off of a team. Because, like, hey guys, we're doing a team tournament next week. And then, like, in the third round, it splits into a singles event. You're like, I did not bring the tools I needed to be in singles. You're like, oh god. Okay. Any other cool ideas?
Oh, we have gone well past the cool idea point.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah.
I don't know. I find fun, new, interesting events to think about. It always adds another layer. Like when we first started doing Battle Realms, it was like, oh man, this is kind of tedious and annoying. And then like we played a tournament over here, like this was amazing.
Yeah.
And then it's like now everyone likes Battle Realms, and so I'm always up for more stuff. And Battle Realms is pretty abstract, honestly. Like there's a lot of extra verbiage you have to write down and read and understand before you can play in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of these would be a lot simpler than that even. If you guys ever played the Netrunner card game, they had my favorite faction balance mechanic I've ever had in a card game, which is it's called Influence. And so basically everyone has 15 points of influence. And if you take anything outside of your normal faction, it has a rating on it, and it's easy because it's just printed directly on the card. And so if you want to bring this one card that's really strong, it's 5 influence points. Well, a playset in that game is 3, so if you want 3 of the strongest card in another faction, it costs you all of your influence. Or you could have like 15 single cards of 1 influence cards. And so you got to choose how you spread that around. It just added granularity that obviously a restricted list could never do. But that would require you to go through the entire game and assign a rating to every single model and tactics card and mission. And then also keep track of that when you're building your roster. And so that's just a lot of extra work to do. But I would love to do something like that. Instead of a restricted list, have a list of like 30 things that have a rating of like 1 to 3. And then your list only gets 4 restricted points or whatever. And just balance it from there.
I love that. That system is so much more elegant than just saying no.
Yeah. So like Thanos could just be 4, and you're like, well, cool. Like we're just not gonna deal with it. Or maybe you make all of the Infinity Stones 1 and Thanos is 2, and so that way only if you take him with the stones it's too much. Or maybe it is impossible to take him with like the stones you want, and so we're effectively banning Thanos, or at least in the reality space stone configuration or whatever happens to be the biggest problem at the time. And it's very easy to change stuff because it's not like, well, we're moving Zemo from legal to banned. It's like, well, now Zemo is 2 points. And patch up is 1 and brace is 1. And it's like, okay, well, that's all you get. You don't get Thanos. You can't do Thanos and Zemo. It's illegal. You can't do Namor and Zemo. It's illegal. It's just make them too many points. It's like, you just never have to see that combo again, but the individual models are still legal. And so stuff like that. But that would require a lot more, work and infrastructure to have people able to play in that tournament on a monthly basis.
See, I prefer that system so much more than...
Oh, it's amazing. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. And
again, it's like, for who? Because you would have to be like on my side and agree with me, and then you'd have to like publish this document, update it monthly, and it'd be such a nightmare.
You could also do something really important to Aaron's point, which is bigger models can be so oppressive. So I think you could even extend that. Instead of doing just outside your own affiliation, like they cost something, I think you could even just you could say that anywhere a 6-point character of X, costs at least 1 or something. So, so if you want to play A-Force with She-Hulk as your leader, that's actually taking some of your out of affiliation points, right? Just to do it, even though it's not. I don't know how convoluted that becomes, but that might make it so that people who want to play Immortal Hulk, even in Midnight Suns, have to pay for that.
Something we had also talked about previously is for scenarios doing a maximum scoring. And so just like as a generic game rule, you can't score more than 5 points a turn. It's not possible. Like, it's against the rules of the game to score more than 5. So you could make missions like Senators and Scoundrels be more prevalent if you want to discourage extremely tall lists, but then not worry about the back end of, well, what happens when people score 9 points a turn and the game ends on turn 2? It's like, well, it doesn't matter. You can't. The soonest the game can legally end by victory points is turn 4. And that's only if you score like 5-5-1. 5-5-5-1. And so like, it's just like, well, we're not as worried about it because there's no real egregious thing. And it would really discourage stealing for the purposes of high scoring. Because like, well, all you need is like 2 extracts and 3 secures, or 3 extracts, 2 secures, and you're already maxing out your points. And so at that point, stealing just slows your opponent down. Or it gives you redundancy in case they daze your models. And so it just changes the dynamic of it. It's no longer a race, it's an endurance test. It's like, can you last till turn 4? You're like, well, that's a different question. And now I'm bringing different models, and I'm not directly running away from you to do that. And so, I don't know. I think that would also be really good, but that's not really a tournament format necessarily. It's more of like a design philosophy. But we could do something like that. It's like, hey, no more than 5 points in a single turn for any reason. And we could put that in a mission packet and just see how it goes.
Yep.
Anyway, though. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed our completely random rambles.
Not completely.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Aaron.
And you've just listened to Aaron play Path of Exile 2.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
We did it.
Yes,
perfect start to another perfect episode.
It's exactly as perfect a start as
when we stop it and delete it. That doesn't count as an episode, so we're on track.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna never see the light of day and be burned.
Yeah. How could it? It didn't exist.
Yeah, I'm glad I did check that, by the way, because it didn't even default to my headset mic like it usually does. It defaulted to my webcam mic, which was even worse.
Yeah. Nothing good will come of that.
I played my sound sample, and it sounded like a cat screaming in a tunnel. I was like, okay, that's bad. The first time, I don't know if I ever told you this, Parker, the first time I ever tried to do a podcast was in, God, it would have been like 2006-ish. It was a long time ago with my old roommate, Ben. And we tried to make a 40K podcast. So that's actually where this microphone I'm using right now came from. And because this never got used for the old L2 War Game podcast. This was only used for the 40K radio one that we tried to do. And we sat there we recorded like a 45-minute episode. And we sat there for about 4 hours trying to figure out how to use the sound editing software. It was way more complicated than it is nowadays. The programs were not meant for like consumers like they are now. So it was all like you had to just know what you were doing and where everything was. Like using Photoshop with no training. It's like you just have no chance of succeeding. And we sat there for so long Googling why it sounded like we were in a fucking cave. Because you play it back and it was like you're listening to people down a cave corridor. It's like echoey and bassy and it was really weird. Like, this is not what we sound like. Why does it sound like this when we're playing it back? And finally, we found there was like a sub drop-down menu and a preferences setting that applies filters to the audio. And it was literally called Cave Atmosphere. It was defaulted to. It's like, what the fuck? No wonder we sound like dog shit. It's because this thing thinks we want to sound like we're in a cave. And so we turned that off. We sounded normal. I was like, God damn it. We spent so long just trying to figure this out. Anyway.
That still sounds like more fun than our first casting expenditure, but still.
What do you mean?
Sorry, no, that wasn't the first casting expenditure. Or was it the very first one? Yeah, it was the very first one. The famous.
You mean episode 0?
Yeah, the famous one where I tried to install my computer into the cloud.
That was amazing. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's what I said.
After you got a new computer, everything worked out fine.
Yeah, it's been nothing but unicorns and rainbows ever since.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone's ever seen the movie Swordfish with Hugh Jackman and John Travolta, the scene where Hugh Jackman is hacking was more accurate to using a computer properly than what Parker was doing.
Ooh, I like this idea. We need a Mojoverse today, right? I think we're just inspired. Let's pick one. Hugh Jackman or John Travolta? What do you want to do? Let's pick.
Oh, it's got to be John Travolta. Hugh Jackman hasn't been in enough things. We're just going to go down the Wolverine satire appearances.
Oh, Hugh Jackman's been in a lot of stuff.
He's been in a fine amount of things, but a lot of them are like family movies, and so it's just a lot of like Real Steel is like whatever, sure.
You take that back.
You take that back.
You can like Real Steel. I didn't say you couldn't. I'm just saying it's a shallow pool.
I'm looking at it right now. Oh,
okay. Just say you can't pick Wolverine. Go ahead and list the 9 that we would be choosing from.
I don't want to. I'm not taking it. Okay.
So it's The Greatest Showman.
You decide.
It's Greatest Showman. Then Real Steel. Are we already on Real Steel?
I have.
Swordfish is a bad movie.
Night of the Museum.
Okay.
I actually like Missing Link. I like Missing Link a lot.
I haven't seen that.
You're right. It is a lot of.
Yeah, it's a lot of like feel good family movies or garbage.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Did you change your mind? Are we doing John Travolta?
Well, they have movies.
He's actually been in a lot. There's just a lot of bad.
I didn't like the. There are a lot of movies on here that I think some people could appreciate. I didn't appreciate them that much.
I actually am kind of pumped for John Travolta. We should definitely do that.
Okay, let's do John Travolta.
Yeah.
I can do that one off the top of my head, even.
I can get many.
Yeah. Uh-oh. I'm filling up my little book, guys. My little notebook. There's so many.
Actually, Parker, I have really good news.
What's that?
They still make notebooks.
No, but I mean, I don't. If I close this notebook, it'll be the end of an era, right? It'll be like the end of a chapter of Infamous.
I wonder if anyone else has even seen this movie, but I think it's honestly got a shot to be John Travolta's best movie.
Well, stop! Don't What are you doing?
I'm not going to say the movie. I'm just
Okay.
saying in general. I know how this works.
Okay.
The movie's called Old Dogs. Which I'm just basing purely on the cover is a sequel to Wild Hogs. I don't know.
He was in Wild Hogs too, wasn't he? Was it no? Yes? No? No, he was not.
But yeah, he was also in Wild Hogs. Battlefield Earth.
Stop!
Ooh. That's a really good one. Okay, I've got a very short list.
Yep.
Oh, God. I really like the ones I picked, though. I remember liking this movie, but I can't remember anything that fucking happens in it. I do think there's two I'm going to say that you guys have, like, no chance of saying, though, so that will help. Okay. So, I've been watching Walking Dead, getting caught up. I think I am exactly caught up as of right now. I think I've watched everything that I missed, or I had originally watched before I didn't see anything. So I think every episode from now on is going to be a brand new episode. I'm kind of excited.
Good.
It has been a good and bad show to watch in the background, because most of the show you don't really need to be paying that much attention to.
Yep.
But there are some spots where it gets distracting. And the later seasons of Walking Dead have really hammered home my original take of the governor as a terrible character. I completely think that he is one of the worst written characters I've ever seen in a TV show. I guess I should specify. Outside of, like, CW level performances where it's, like, really phoned in. Like, if you're like this, like, you're on a subscription based channel, like, you should be better than this.
I have not seen any of the Walking Dead other than, like, stuff the internet has force fed me in clips or whatnot. And after reading the comics, I have zero interest. I
Really?
Yeah, I didn't. I read the comics because everybody told me that they were really good, and they were really engrossing. But the comics, at least, did the same thing that the actual books, or for the lesser extent, the show, that Game of Thrones did, which is basically making no character sacred. Is, like, supposed to be really shocking, right? Like, there's tons of
it was like
there's tons of single, like, one panel pages where a main character gets offed in a super dramatic way, and you're supposed to be super shocked when you turn the page and stuff. And after the fourth or fifth time of that happening, I just didn't give a shit about any characters anymore, and I don't like that. We've talked about that before with Game of Thrones. I do not like it when an author specifically, makes a really consistent statement that no character is sacred. Well, then I end up, as a reader, never ever investing in any character or giving a fuck because their lives are so cheap. It doesn't really matter, right?
So, yeah, I experienced Game of Thrones through other people because I don't watch it and I haven't read the books. But that seems very much what happens to most people with Game of Thrones. It's like the first couple of times it happens, it's shocking. And then after that, you just become jaded and you don't care about anything. But I will say, in my opinion, and I'll give you a two-part here, is I think they actually do a really good job of making character deaths feel like they usually meant something, or there was a reason behind it. Like, they make it a big deal in the TV show. It's not just throwaway character here for no reason whatsoever. It's always like, you've made decisions to get here, or like, you're trying to do something. It's kind of like the slasher film, where it's like, oh, you did something bad, you have to die. Like, there's always like a reasoning behind it, or like a purpose to it. But I think I like Walking Dead more than most people, even though I haven't seen the whole show yet. But I will say, for sure, this is the second part, I don't think you should watch Walking Dead. But that's mostly due to an entertainment value per minute, which is your kind of restriction. I don't think it'd be good for you because of how slow it is. It would take up a year of your viewing time just to watch it, and it's like, that's not worth it. You're much better off watching anime if that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, I have plenty of things to watch right now. I am trying desperately to avoid Arcane spoilers, because Arcane is one of my favorite shows of the history of all shows. I was blown away by the first season of Arcane, having no expectations for a League of Legends show to be any good. I love
Mhm.
the first season so much. I tried rather to watch this second season. It's been so long since the first. I was too lost. I was like, I know all the characters' names, but I don't know what the fuck was happening because there are like. Have you watched Arcane at all?
I have not. I know vaguely about it, but
It is.
People keep saying it's good.
I will say this: it is absolutely masterful how many plots they have running concurrently, and they're constantly interweaving. Like one will duck underneath the other, and then one will come up, and one will, some of the times they'll connect, and then they'll disconnect to different places. And so it's really engrossing to watch how whoever wrote the storyboard for this fucking show is just a genius because it's the mechanics are insane. But it makes it really hard to come to in base functionally in the middle, which is what I was trying to do the other day. I was like, fuck, I got to clear out my whole schedule to watch the whole first season again, and then watch season 2, which I never do. I never do that for shows. I'm always just jumping right in. But it's been a while, and the show is just too complex. I love it for its complexity. It's a really beautiful show, but I don't think I can just start watching season 2. So I'm desperately trying to go la 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 with blinders on every time I turn on the internet because it understands that I like Arcane and is trying to send me spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys hear my dog? Can you hear her whenever she's... Okay, good. Yeah, she is really struggling. She's just making these terrible noises.
Man, I cannot imagine this is going to go well with this Mojo world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think this is going to get real tight real fast.
I think somebody's going to have to pick a ostensibly bad movie.
Well, according to me, which is obviously not a perfect line, is there's only 6 good movies on this entire list of movies he's made. So
yeah,
there's probably like 2 others I could say I've seen and didn't hate, but I'm sure I know there's one that I'm sure one of you guys is going to like, but I dislike it. So
I have one. I have an emergency pull that I'll go into because I know the internet hates this movie, but I didn't realize that this movie was bad until the internet told me it was. Because when I was a kid, I thought this movie was just fine. I thought there was nothing wrong with it. In fact, my dad loved it, and so I've seen it like 5 times.
I think that's the one I was talking about. So maybe you won't name it.
So
I guess we'll find out.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I think it'll become an honorable mention unless
it just for someone who's been acting for more than 50 years, you'd think they'd have more hits. Like that's just the surprising part to me. Like his first acting job was in 1972,
and he's also
that's crazy,
right? And he's also considered like a,
I'd say he's prolific for sure, but I don't think anyone would say he's like a great actor.
Well, would you consider him an A-lister? I feel like he's an A-lister.
Not anymore. No.
No, but I mean,
yeah, I think there was probably a time in like the late 2000s that he would probably be considered an A-lister. So if you just look in the 2000 before 2020, after 2000, he's got. Yeah, we're just going 19 back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Almost 35 movies in that 20-year block. That's just movies, not TV shows. Like, there's a lot, but I don't think anybody... Like, you'd have to ask a lot of people before somebody said John Travolta's their favorite actor. Like, a lot of people. Like, huge numbers. It's where, like, Gary Oldman, like, you could probably ask, like, a couple thousand people, and somebody'd say Gary Oldman. All right, so, unfortunately, collectively, we have not got a lot of gaming in this week. Aaron's been on the path. Parker has been busy. And I went to the tournament and decided to not have there be a bye, so I got to watch people play games all day. That was fun.
So much fun.
Then we went to get food, and I had a crab rangoon pizza. That was fun. So, Aaron, how has Path been going for you?
It's been going very well.
Are you max level?
I am not. I may never be.
Ooh. Did you quit the game already?
No.
It just takes that long?
They have a penalty on death, XP penalty, so I never got to 100 in the original version.
So you're just on this endless cycle of dying and trying to climb again?
or getting far enough and deciding to start a new character, one of the two.
I did that a lot in City Heroes. That was always a problem I had. I would get to around level like 25 and and that's when really the game starts slowing down, where you go from leveling like every hour or so to leveling every day or so, and it's like, shit. And then I'll just go make a new character. So what has been your initial impression? I heard there's been a couple hot fixes, but overall it's been pretty good.
I think the bones of the game are extremely solid. The graphics are great. Monster diversity is incredible. Character animations are very good for the skills that you do. I think the early difficulty might be a tad too hard and needs toned down, and that's kind of what early access is for. Figure out all of that, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
That's really my only beef right now. I mean, there's quality of life stuff that we don't need to go into, but as far as like recommending the game or not, I wouldn't recommend anyone who is not a huge ARPG fan or specifically Path of Exile fan to pick it up in early access. There's no reason to. Just wait until they fix all the stuff that needs fixed, and then they'll release.
You're paying money to beta test. That's only for the diehards.
Yep, and it's definitely like an open beta. It is more than playable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I probably DC'd 6 times over the past week, maybe 10, which is way more than I would like, and unacceptable for a released game. But if there are, obviously in-game interactions that don't get tested at the smaller closed beta levels they've done, they're just gathering a shit ton of information now to figure out, like, why did this client DC? What was going on in the game at that time. So they'll get all that worked out. They'll fix the balance, and the game, I think will be a 10 out of 10 on launch. It's probably a 7 out of 10 right now, maybe even an 8.
I have an interesting question for you, I think. And you have, I think, a really good perspective on possibly answering this. Why was Diablo 2 and Path of Exile so amazingly well received and had such great longevity compared to Diablos 3 and 4? Is there one specific issue that was happening that makes the game just like the repetitiveness of it not as fun as these other two games, where the repetitiveness was much enjoyed by most?
So I think it's the difficulty level. Like I said, I never hit max level in Path of Exile. Diablo 4, I just latest model was so overtuned. I was just one-shotting bosses and moving on. Like, it was stupid. I couldn't even bring myself to max Paragon because it was just so boring.
Even though you're just walking through content, it with no challenge. You no longer felt like the drive because
it's amazing for the first couple of minutes or hours even, and then you're like, well, why? Like, it's completely devoid of any sense of satisfaction, and you have to have satisfaction.
Yeah.
That's what really keeps coming back.
Yeah, you definitely want the gratification of feeling like you've achieved something. That's obviously important.
So I think Path of Exile and Diablo 2 were more grim. Just like Diablo 1, the setting, dark. And then all of a sudden Diablo 3 hit, and you're more into the WoW mindset of, why the fuck are there unicorns and pink everywhere?
I mean, that was just the silly level or whatever, right?
Well, that level, yes, but the entire game was much more cartoonish than, say, Diablo 2 or Diablo 1.
Okay. I mean, obviously, if you're going for that grim aesthetic, then it's definitely something you would want. The Diablo 3 aesthetic for me, now this is someone who didn't really play Diablo 2, didn't really off-put me at all. In fact, I don't know that the character models or anything like that was a problem. I actually liked a lot of them, except for I guess it was Act 3, the desert one with all the there's snakes and bugs and stuff. I thought that was pretty lame. But the other 3 acts I actually really liked. I like the demons, I like the undead. That was all fun. So I've had multiple people tell me they thought Diablo 2 was a difficult game, like it was challenging. And so, like you're saying, is you think that it needs to have a higher challenge rating. I think that...
Go ahead.
Good.
No.
I was just going to say that I think that there's a very narrow gap you have to hit, maybe, is the problem, where if it's too hard, you get discouraged. And if it's too easy, you get bored. And so hitting that power band is very important. And in Diablo 3, I think that they got the difficulty of the regular mobs too low, and the difficulty of the boss and elites too high. So when you ran into elites, it was no longer fun because all you were trying to do is avoid their special ability. They were they're frozen or acid splash or like fire ring or whatever it happened to be. All the combat was avoiding that one type of ground effect or ability. And the actual mob was completely irrelevant. And so I think it was like all of the base stat blocks are too small, and the secondary effects these things have are so overpowered that just became the entire game is avoiding ground effects. And that's not fun and engaging. That's just tedious and boring.
Yep.
And so that's at least what happened to me, is because if you turn the difficulty up high enough to where the regular mobs get challenging, you just get one-shotted by anything above them. And so it was just like they just missed the gap. It was too big. And so Diablo 4, I don't think was really that way. Diablo 4 was more in the right general area. They brought it down a little bit where like bosses were fightable, and mobs were challenging. But it really, for me, it was just the like constant changing the way the game works. And so like the big patches that made your characters less good, or like the crazy amount of time it took to progress in the game. Like you would have to grind. Yeah, you had to grind like 20 or 30 raid dungeon things just to get like a couple levels. And it was just like, well, you need like hundreds of Paragon levels. And so they had this really huge open world that you could like go explore. But as soon as you got to anything near endgame content, you just became teleport to dungeon over and over again.
Yep.
Which is like, it was just the rifts all over again. And it was like, why can't we just go do missions and have the mission content be what we're doing? It just seemed odd to me that they just bypassed that. I don't know. And again, it felt like they were forcing you to fight super, super hard content to get good enough rewards to justify your time. And so it just became tedious as opposed to challenging. That's my perspective. And I've only really played Diablo 2 and 3. Or sorry, 3 and 4.
Sure. Path of Exile is being compared to Dark Souls right now.
For difficulty. Yeah, I've heard it's challenging.
I probably died. We might be going in the thousands. And it's been out for 5 days.
Yeah. Can you check that, actually? It's got to be like
used to be able
somewhere.
to. Yeah.
That'd be a fun thing to look up. Ooh, even better, look up if you could find, it'd be great if they had like XP lost to death. Like you would actually be at level 138 right now if you didn't die.
315. I've died 315 times on the character right now.
Oh, it's not terrible. Let's see.
It's pretty fucking bad.
What's your time played?
On this character is probably 60 hours. Let me see. Is it played? 2 days, 12 hours, 6 minutes, and 21 seconds. So 2 days is 48 plus 12.
54 hours.
Wait, 2 days?
Yeah, 48 plus 6.
Plus 12. 12 hours, 6 minutes. So exactly 60 hours, 6 minutes.
Nice. So 60 times 60 is 3,600 minutes. And so we're going to divide that by your 315 deaths. You die every 11.4 minutes. That's actually pretty good. You stay alive for at least 10 minutes a shot. What do you lose when you die?
Nothing right now. It'll be XP once you get to a certain level.
Did you ever play EverQuest?
No.
Are you aware of EverQuest? It was one of the very early on MMOs. It's pretty much a lot of people credit it as being like the first real MMO, because there was stuff before that.
No.
They had an on-death mechanic as well, where you just straight reverted to your previous level. Oh, no, sorry. You lost all XP on your current level when you died. But then they had plateau hell levels. So it's like, when you get to 60, 60 is a hell level. And so it took like 2 to 10 times as much XP to get that level done. And if you died on a hell level, you reverted to the previous level. So you would have people like really trying not to die. Like really, really trying. But this was like, in the very, very early days of the concept of MMOs.
Yep.
So they hadn't learned a lot of the issues yet. Like they didn't come up with mob leashing. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they would just follow you infinitely
forever.
And so you would have people like you walk into a zone, realize it's the wrong level, and you immediately like things would aggro on you, so you just start running away, and so you just run to the next zone exit because the mobs aren't faster than you. And so what would actually end up happening, they call it getting trained, is you would load into a zone right as somebody's leaving, and there would just be this endless line of monsters running at you that were chasing that guy. They just obliterate you. And so that was a cool thing that used to happen in games.
I think there are already probably 10 times more bosses in Path of Exile than are in Diablo, just in the campaign.
Yeah.
There's a
How much
fuck ton.
Is there like a percentage of the campaign that's currently available?
50%.
Okay.
There will be 6 acts. There are currently 3 available, and then you have to play them all again on a harder difficulty. Right now, that'll go away when that launches.
Is there a current level cap?
No. I mean, so they chose to only have 3 acts available so they could focus on endgame. So all of the endgame content is currently available. So max level is 100, and you can hit it if you want.
Okay.
There won't be character wipes.
Will not be. Okay. That makes sense since it's paid.
Kinda. I mean, a lot of people play all kinds of ARPGs for the seasonal content that they provide. Diablo is no different. They have seasons there. Path of Exile, when they launch, all of the characters here will go to their own early access league. And then most people will start new characters with the release league. And then 4 months after that, there'll be another league, and they'll, roll a new character with a new mod mechanic or a new mechanic in the game or something like that. So,
will they all eventually end up on like the main server?
So they typically then go to yeah. I believe it was called Standard in the original one.
Yeah. Cool. I guess this is off topic, but do we know what the next Judgment model is yet?
Do not. It won't be until January, but yeah, there have been no leaks or rumors.
Got a lot of work done today on my printing stuff. I think I packaged up like 8 different orders. They're all going out today.
Nice. Still have a backlog?
Kind of. I'm mostly caught up. I've got one huge order still to go out, but it's all printed and separated from the supports. I just need to go through and clean and cure it and then package it, which will probably take pretty much a whole day. But outside of that, I'm mostly caught up. I need to get my freaking filament printers working, and then I can finish up like the 4 orders I have for boxes, and then that'll be done. I don't know why they just... Every time I get something fixed, there's just like a new problem arises that was never there before.
It's called life.
Yeah, I know. I assume now that Path is out, you haven't been watching any TV or anything?
You are correct. Finished all my painting. Did whatever family obligations I had to over the weekend. And like I said, I have 68 hours of Path of Exile in the past 5 days. It's like 14 hours a day.
Which characters have you played so far?
I've only played Blood Mage and Warrior. And Blood Mage just for a little bit. Co-op with Kenny, and then we kind of went our own way. Now I'm playing a Warrior, because I like to hard man mode it. Melee is always worse than ranged.
Yeah, it tends to be the case.
Every fucking guide you look at is like, oh, just shoot him from range, because he's super dangerous up close. You're like, motherfucker.
Yeah, you really don't want to engage in melee with this guy.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Avoid this, and shoot them from range. Like, well, okay, what if I can't? It's a fuck.
So what's cool about the Warriors? They're different melee classes, or?
There are, I'm going to say 2 melee classes on launch, 3 ranged, and 1 hybrid. However, any class can do anything because they're not limited. Like skills, any class can use any skill. The only difference between the classes are where you start on their passive tree.
Mm-hmm.
But it just makes sense. If you want to go with a 2-handed weapon build, you should go with the Warrior because they start next to those nodes. It would be counterproductive to go somewhere else. Unless there are some interactions that just break it open, that I'm sure people will do.
Yeah. What is the what's the other melee class?
A monk. So more of the fast hitting.
Yeah.
But I just got to the point where I have access to all of my skill gems now, and oh my god, most skills are like 120% of weapon damage. And I'll have to read this one to you. Attack damage 1,619% of your attack damage is what this one attack does.
That seems like a lot.
It is Hammer of the Gods. It's basically a targeted nuke from orbit.
Does it take like a long time to build up?
It takes about a second and a half to build up, and then it provides the glowing spot on the ground where it's going to come down. So you have to spend a second and a half, channeling, and then make sure the enemy stays within those parameters. And it has an excessively long cooldown. So it is definitely meant to it's not going to one shot a boss, but chunk big characters.
Nice.
It is hilarious when it goes off, though. Like I said, the animations and the characters, everything about this game is visually stunning. So I've been super impressed with that, obviously.
Good. Sounds like so far it's living up to its expectations.
Yeah. Like I said, the big debate right now is if you listen to other people discuss the game, it's them screaming at the developers to fucking nerf shit so they can progress. And other people being like, devs, don't fucking listen to these people. Keep the game. This is amazing. Right? Like, what difficulty level do you want your games to be? ?
Yeah. Because those people are, they just want a really challenging game. I think it's...
Well, it's also player skill and knowledge base. Like, just because you are failing doesn't mean the game is too hard. It just means that you might not be properly geared correctly, right?
Yeah,
so if they were to nerf it even further, then you just cakewalk through with the right stuff. So I think the first couple levels are perhaps a bit too challenging because there's not shit you can do with your character. Like, what do you do with your level 3? Like, you have no points to invest anywhere. You can't afford gear. All the gear shit anyway. So I had a really rough time in the first 30 levels, but I've had a fabulous time in the next 30. Been dying plenty, but that's usually because I know I have gear issues or I've just made some stupid mistakes. I'm like, yeah, probably should have dodged away from that large axe coming to my face, but I was lazy. So that's where I stand right now. Is they need to nerf's the wrong word, but make the first couple levels a little easier. But the rest of the game needs to stay the way it is for now. More testing. Obviously, I'm not even there yet. You were saying something.
Oh, I was just saying that action RPGs are kind of known for being like, I don't know, easy like kill hordes of dudes games, and so it probably attracts a lot of people that want just like a fun like smash 'em up kind of game. And so then there's obviously some of them that want like the more challenging interactions. And so you're obviously trying to make a large population base happy.
Yep. So we'll see what they do. But it's weird because because it's EA, half of the characters, like 60% of the. So when you choose a character, you can choose one or 3 specializations. They call them ascendancies in this game. Like 60% of the ascendancies aren't out yet. They don't even have half of the weapons. Like axes don't exist, swords don't exist in the game. They're just stopped from dropping because the characters that use those aren't in the game, primarily anyway. So it is very much an early access game, and so it is just interesting to kind of see, okay, so all of these gems that I could be slotting in to support my character are coming soon. But I really wanted to be in on the ground floor, and I'm here, so we're all happy. You have any interest?
I wouldn't say that I don't have interest. It's just more of, if I was going to play a video game, would it be Path of Exile? It's probably not a hard no, but I'm definitely, like you said, I'm not going to join early access, and I don't really have time right now.
Yeah.
I actually bought a couple games on Steam lately. The one I put a little bit of time into is called Days Gone, which, funnily enough, was not recommended to me. It was the opposite. People told me not to buy it. But I've actually enjoyed it a decent amount. It's like Sons of Anarchy meets Walking Dead, the video game.
Is it a survival game or a first-person shooter game?
It is a survival-based third-person shooter adventure game. So you play a biker guy. I don't know. I think he's in charge of the biker gang. But they're up in like Portland, Oregon area. And the game starts with a cutscene that takes place 2 years prior, which is when the zombie outbreak started. And the main character who you play, his girlfriend gets stabbed in the stomach. And so he basically holds this chopper pilot at gunpoint and makes him take his girlfriend to a hospital. And then they fly off, blah, blah. And then he's got to help his buddy, who's like the vice president of their biker gang, get out of the city. And that's when the cutscene ends, and it flashes forward 2 years. And in that time period, he has never heard of her or anything that happened to her again. And they've kind of gone their own way and done stuff. And they've like taken over this old like mountain outpost, and so there's this old like ranger station they like have as their home base. And other than that, it's kind of like Walking Dead, but like you're still like part of like this biker gang. I don't know. It's the cool part of it is like the biker aspect is that you get a motorcycle, and so your transport in the game is a motorcycle. And so you have to like repair the bike and keep gas in it because you actually burn gas pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're like out scavenging supplies and stuff. You can make Molotov cocktails. You can make pipe bombs. You can you scavenge ammunition and stuff. You can make crossbow bolts and like use a crossbow like Daryl does on Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a lot quieter. There's sneaking mechanics, and you have most other people you beat in the wilderness you have to kill because they're crazy and try and kill you.
Sure.
There's a whole subsect of bad guys. They're called the Rippers, which are humans that have gone insane and started this like worshiping this destroyer god cult, and so they just want to like kidnap and eat people, and so you have to fight them a lot. But yeah, the regular like dead people are like pretty easy to kill. But the problem is when you run into them in like large quantities, because they have this horde mechanic combat system they do. And so you can fight like 100 of them at once, but the big problem is like you don't have enough ammunition to kill them. And so you have to come up with cool ways to kill them, like Molotov cocktails and choke points. And you can set up booby traps in the game where you can have like this like stack of logs that will collapse on them or shit like that. You can make them run past gas cans and blow up the gas can. So I hate like first-person shooter kind of games generally. I've never developed the skill at aiming. And so you basically have to turn the difficulty down if you don't have the mouse coordination for it.
Yep.
It's fine. Like I actually am fairly accurate in the game. I just don't like where you're really punished for missing shots ever because it just makes you like want to hoard ammo. But in the game, you can't hoard large amounts of ammo. You basically just get like 3 reloads on every gun is like the amount of ammunition you get. When you're being chased by 100 zombies that are running, and you're like, well, I have an AK-47, so you're like, well, that's only 3 seconds of shooting times 4. That's 12 seconds of ammunition. Like, there's hundreds of them. Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, even if I shot every one of them in the head, like, I'd run out of bullets. And so I don't like that, like, I have to... It becomes a whole side mission on how to deal with this, like, group of enemies. And it's interesting. I need to get better at the movement mechanics, but obviously... any kind of game like that, like if you like get clipped by a zombie, like they fucking kill you, and so like you can only get hit by like 3 or 4 times where you die. Healing is pretty easy in the game, but like if they just get hit a few times, like you just fall down and die. So you have to avoid their attacks, and so you have to like stay ahead of them. I don't know. I haven't played very much, but it was kind of fun. I really liked the like scavenging aspect of it and like sneaking around and doing stuff. And there's like political intrigue there's a bunch of these different like camps that have set up like their own defenses and things, and so you like have relationships with them and you bring them supplies for trade and stuff. It's a pretty fun little game. I don't know if it's amazing, but it's fun. The other game I played a decent amount lately was and a decent amount was like maybe 10 hours is it's called Chaos Gate. It's a
Demon Hunters?
GW game.
Yeah,
Demon Hunters. Yeah. It was pretty good. It's just XCOM with Space Marines, and you play the Demon Hunters. That game got off the rails really quickly. So as apparently in XCOM, I've never played another XCOM game, but it is... there's an action point system. Everyone gets 3 action points.
Yep.
You can overwatch, you can reload, you can attack, you can move. The weird part is like attacking and moving is sometimes 1 action point, and it's not really clear on when that is. And it just tells you on the HUD, but I don't understand the mechanic of when, like, well, how is this moving and attacking 2 action points? But is it moving and attacking is 1 action point? It's the same distance. It's just weird. I don't understand the mechanics. It's not really explained in the game, so maybe it's just an XCOM thing that they didn't explain. But it's fine. You can easily figure out how many you're going to have. But there's abilities in the game to give people action points. Mm-hmm. Those are the broken part. Is I have an Interceptor Marine, which has a teleport jump pack. And I took 2 Justicars, and they both have an ability where they can give somebody 2 action points, which sounds amazing. But if they overcharge it, they give out 5 action points. And so it costs them 1 of their psychic points, which you don't refill. You just get a set amount every map. And so you can spend, it's like 3 of their psychic points. And they start with 3, but you can get them up to like 10 or 12. And then they can just pick somebody and they get 5 action points. And so there's no cap, to my knowledge. So they both just hand 5 action points to the teleporting guy, who, hear me out, then teleports. And then he just kills everyone in sight. I gave him a demon hammer, so he like one-shots pretty much most enemies.
Cool.
So he's just like, teleport, kill that guy, teleport over here, kill that guy. And he's got a teleport attack. And so he's just like, I'm going to hit everyone in this area when I teleport. It seems really fucking busted. The problem is that like he can get to the end of the map and clear all the enemies, and then the two Justicar's have to like slowly walk across the entire map over 3 rounds. I'm like, God, this is lame.
I probably have more than 10 hours in Chaos Gate, but I think games get a little stale once you feel like if you figured out the min-max optimum way to beat the game, you're like, okay, I can just do this 6 more times. I did it once because it was cool. Did it again to confirm that it worked. And then I was like, okay, I guess at some point, if you're not being presented with different problems to solve that require different solutions.
Like I actually didn't mind the repetitiveness too much. The problem I had was it just didn't feel like the amount, like I unfortunately I'm so busy nowadays. Like I like audit my time spent, and so I'll look back and go, all right, I played this for 4 hours. Was this the most fun I could have in a 4-hour period? Because I only get like a limited amount of time to do what I want. So I'm like, oh, not really. I feel like I could have done something more efficiently because it requires just enough attention span that I can't like also watch TV and do it.
Yep.
And so I'm like, because it's too easy to like mix up enemies or mix up which guy you're activating and make a mistake that you can't take back. It's like, fuck. And so, yeah, I was just like, I think I'd just rather spend my time elsewhere. And that's when I started playing Days Gone. It was okay. I think I want Days Gone to be more like 7 Days to Die. Have you played that?
I have not.
Do you know what Rust is?
Nope.
Do you know what Armor 3 is? We're just going to go backwards until you...
Nope.
All right, so Armor 3 was an open world first-person shooter. It's not really relevant about what Armor 3 is other than it existed in the 2000s. But it is a framework in which people have designed all these other games on the same game engine. So it's kind of like Unreal was like a tournament or like a software program that people built other things on top of it.
Yep.
Just reskinned it, changed some mechanics. Armor 3 is that. So Armor 3 became a lot of other games. Rust was primarily one of them. Rust is like a post-apocalyptic survival game where you can build stuff. And so a lot of games are based on that, but Rust is based on Armor 3. And so 7 Days to Die is that. It's just another reskinning of Armor 3. Open world, destructible terrain, buildable terrain, stuff like that. And so it's just Minecraft, but realistic looking. And so everything's like an actual building. There's actual dogs and wolves and bears and shit. And like there's water mechanics and like you can climb ladders. It's like an actual 3D environment as opposed to blocks. But other than that, like it's very much just Minecraft with a different skin on it. But it's Minecraft with a different skin on it in a zombie apocalypse. And so like guns are extremely rare. Ammunition is just as rare. If you go around shooting zombies with guns, you're going to run out of bullets immediately. So you have to really ration everything. There's other people in the game that are trying to rob you. There's like vendors and stuff in the game. You go to a town. There's like a guy set up a little trading post. And so you can like try and kill the guy at the trading post and take all of his shit. Like it's true open world. Do whatever you want. There's no missions or anything. And so I jumped in there. That's a really fun game because like you go up to this car and you open the trunk. And you're like, oh, there's this thing in here. There's a can of gas. Well, now I've taken the can of gas out of there. That now it's gone. And so, like, it feels very survival-esque because, like, this stuff doesn't just come back. If you want infinite food, you need to learn how to farm. Like, because if you just scavenge all the food, there'll be no food left.
Yep.
And unless you just keep moving on because the world is huge. Like, you can run for, like, hours in straight line and not hit the borders or anything. Like, it's a truly immersive game. So, like, that's pretty... Like, I haven't played that much either. I haven't played that in over a year now. But I only played it, like, 2 or 3 times. But that's kind of where I basically was looking for something like that with a little less time investment, and that's why I got Days Gone. The only problem I have with 7 Days to Die is I haven't looked up, I'm sure there is, just a Minecraft-style wiki where you was like, oh, I need to make bandages. How do I do that? Because the game doesn't tell you. You have to figure it out.
Yep.
So, like, I just need to look up how to fucking make bandages. You're like, well, you need linen and, like, gauze. And you're like, okay, well, where do I find linen and gauze? So, like, I just look around for a while. But there's also these cool little Easter eggs. Like I found, what was it? It was like this out in the middle of nowhere radio tower in the forest that I found. It had like this military truck had like driven through the gates, and so there's all this cool stuff out there.
Yep.
And like when you first encounter it, there's like a helicopter flyover, and the helicopter crashes, and so now you can go experience the helicopter crash, and it's just randomly in this weird spot that like you would never have known about. And then the coolest thing I found was there's this doomsday protector that lived in this small town, and his whole house is like boarded over. And so you have to like find a way to get into the tree next to his house, and then climb over his wooden fence. And then you can go into his house, and from his second story bedroom window, there's a was it like a little walkway, like a gangplank he rigged up to his barn, which is completely locked down. And you get into his barn, and he's got this like manhole cover in the cement in his garage. And so you open that up, he has a fucking doomsday prepper survival bunker down there. I'm like, dude, this is perfect. Except you get down to the survival bunker and there's a bunch of zombies in it. You're like, how the fuck did this happen? And then you kill all the zombies, which takes like an hour, because zombies are fucking scary in that game. Like, it's a big deal to kill one. Like, because you don't have bullets, and so you're hitting them with like a stick you found, which breaks, and so you're like bashing them over the head repeatedly in like a choke point, trying to kill all of them. So I kill all the zombies. He has a little bit of supplies down there, and then I was like, okay, where the fuck did the zombies come from? There's a collapsed wall in the back corner, like behind a curtain, where the zombies had tunneled in from the sewer that runs parallel to it. Because in that game, zombies can also break terrain. So if you just leave zombies unattended and they can hear you, they'll claw through concrete walls eventually to get to you. So it's actually really terrifying. You can't sleep anywhere. So I go into the sewer, and I'm just wandering around in the sewer for like an hour. And then I find that the sewer connects to a power plant. I'm still underground, and I go into the power plant, and it's a hydroelectric power plant that's completely fucking packed with zombies. So I eventually clear all that shit out. And I know, like, I have this giant underground concrete base. I'm like, this is fucking awesome. And so, like, that's where I stopped playing the game.
When it got awesome.
It was super cool. I just didn't have time. I wanted to go back and play it. I just, it's one of those things where I need, like, a few hours to sit down and do it. And I just rarely have that much time I can invest.
Yep.
Like, if I just want to throw on, like, I don't know, like, play a game of chess or something, that's easy. But, like, it's hard for me to get that much free time. Hello, Mr. Parker.
Hello.
Is everything okay?
No, she's really struggling. I won't go into grimy details, but it does not smell good down here. She is really, really struggling.
Are you good to continue?
I think so, yes. We're not letting her out anymore. She's now caged, and I shouldn't have to pause anymore. I'm sorry it took so much time.
No, you're fine. We talked about zombies.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's go and jump into Mojo World. All right. So this week on Mojo World, we are reviewing or drafting John Travolta movies. So let's. Oh, I forgot to get the order earlier. So let's double check this. I'm going first because nobody likes my movies, and then followed by Parker, and then Aaron. All right, so let me
okay.
This real quick. What's up? Did I say it wrong?
No, I said okay.
Oh, okay.
I would like
that
to...
just sounded like a challenge. Okay.
Before we start, I just like to take give you one little golf clap for you've gotten much better getting back onto the horn of.
Posting it.
Posting
this one, it's terrible actually, because last week I forgot until it was like Sunday or something, and then this week I only remembered because I posted right after we got off the call with Zach.
Well, I want to commend you anyway. Regardless of how it's happened, it's shaping up.
We're
I appreciate
trying.
that. Yeah.
What's not happening is we're getting to Wednesday, and I haven't posted it at all. That's what's not happening anymore. Anyone who doesn't understand the Discord channel that our server's in, if you're not in the Discord and you want to be, just shoot us a message or something, and we'll try and get you in. But that we post the movie poll in there every week, and we have voting on it. So that's I kept forgetting to post it for like a month and a half. So all right. So first pick is always going to be this. It had to be this. It can't be anything other than Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
I did not realize I was going to be going first until after I was like, man, if only I could get Pulp Fiction, this would be easy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, perfect. All right, Parker, you're up next.
I'm gonna go with I think his best villain role, the Punisher.
You fucking asshole. I didn't think you would go there.
Oh, I love.
I actually, because every time when somebody says why they don't like Punisher, they complain about John Travolta in that movie. So that's why I didn't think anybody else would pick it.
Oh, really?
They're like, God, yeah, he's a terrible villain in that movie.
I think he's. Maybe I need to see it again.
You should definitely watch it again and just watch John Travolta. At no point in the movie does he show any emotion, especially when he's grieving for his lost son.
Okay.
And wife. like no point was he like, does he ever actually show like any kind of grief? He just like very quietly talks. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, Aaron, what you got?
We're gonna go oldies but goodies. Grease, followed by Saturday Night Fever.
Thank you so much, Aaron.
Well, I'm so glad I don't have to pick either of these dog shit movies.
No, I really not that. It's just that I was hoping that somebody would take those because
You'd want to.
Yeah.
And there's not enough good movies to avoid taking them.
Yeah.
So Grease was actually the one I didn't know if anybody was going to pick because I fucking hate Grease. I think it's a terrible movie.
Really?
But I know so many people like it, and I just don't get it. Like there's musicals I like. I do not like Grease.
It is not my favorite musical. Not even the top half.
Exactly.
But I can understand why people like it without liking it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, there's a lot of horrible fucking films on this list. So
just short.
We're gonna take.
It's a deep ocean of a short little good skim on the top.
Yeah.
All right, Parker. What is your second pick?
My second pick is one of my favorite movies actually of all time. I love this movie, Michael. I love Michael.
Ooh, I thought you would pick Michael, but I didn't think you would go as second pick Michael. Interesting.
Well, I really didn't want someone to take it. I would have been really upset because I really like the movie.
All right. Well, Parker took my second pick with Punisher, but there's still a lot of meat on that bone. But there's not going to be when I'm done with it. You guys ready?
Okay.
All right. I have to go with. What do I leave you guys a good one? I'm going to leave you guys a good one. I'm going to give you guys a present. I'm going to go with Broken Arrow. Broken Arrow is legit. Anybody doesn't like it, you have problems.
Okay.
Then probably my actual second favorite John Travolta movie is From Paris with Love.
Wow.
Have you guys seen From Paris with Love?
I don't think so.
No.
Oh my god, you need to watch it. It is amazing. Okay. He is like literally the star of the movie, which is why it surprised me it was so good. But it's a weird like comedy spy thriller that's got like this really emotional ending. It's crazy. Aaron, have you seen it?
Nope.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Like, it's not a well-known movie at all because I don't actually think it got a theatrical release, or if it did, it was really quiet. But it is actually a really good film. Anyway, Parker, your final pick.
I can't believe this one lasted this long. Get Shorty.
Yeah, that was on my list. That was the one where I said I can't remember a single thing that happens in the movie. I just remember liking it.
I loved that whole era of like.
So like mobster movies, like comedy mobster.
Yeah,
movies?
comedy mobster movies, and
like
also
the whole 10 yards.
Yes, the whole 9 yards. Is it a whole 10 yards? The whole 9 yards.
Whole
is the first
9
one.
yards is the first one.
Yeah. It's the whole mobsters aren't really bad guys. You know, they're just they're just out for them. They're selfish, but they're not.
My Blue Heaven.
Yeah. So I love that era, and Get Shorty was awesome. Danny DeVito, oh man.
Awesome. I seriously can't tell you a single thing about the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I can't picture a single frame of it. I just remember I liked it. Mm-hmm. All right, Aaron.
I'm going to take Face Off and not like it.
Yeah. Oh, that was the one I left you on purpose.
I have
I think
not love-hate, but that movie is actively bad while also being good.
Well, did you want Broken Arrow? I'll trade you Broken Arrow for
fucking
Face
Off.
Well, I know how much you like
that is a horrible
B2s.
movie.
I was gonna say you're giving Aaron Broken Arrow.
Well, just because it has the plane in it.
Well, I was gonna say it makes fun of precisely his profession.
But I was just confirming that he didn't want to switch. I like Broken Arrow more than Face Off, but they're like 1A, 1B. Like they're right there. I think most people probably like Face Off more.
I actually have a question for you, Aaron. Is Broken Arrow like the movie just like nails on a chalkboard for you, or is it?
Yes.
Or can you suspend disbelief? No,
No.
you can't. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. Well, I watched that movie once and we'll never watch it again.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're missing out.
Unlike, say, Top Gun Maverick, would watch again.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll watch that.
From
good.
a pure, like, how well do they, treat / get the pilot perspective.
Okay. That's really
I like
interesting.
the part where he goes at Mach 10 in outer space. That was my favorite part of
Oh, is it?
Maverick.
Yeah, okay.
I actually, I love Top Gun, the series, and I understand that it's a big like Navy propaganda piece as well. So it heartens me to hear that it doesn't disgust actual pilots, that it doesn't make them upset.
No,
Well, the second one especially was quite good.
Yeah, I mean, the actual pilots are, the actors are in actual planes with barf bags on their legs, puking in between takes.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get much more real than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're literally being flown around by fighter pilots, like in the planes. Like it's great.
Now, I could have gone without the like Star Wars themed.
Yeah.
What, the super plane at the beginning? Is that what you're talking about?
No, the whole.
The trench run. The trench run.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they did a good job of making a movie out of basically a single, 5-minute flight. I think they did a really good job of making it feel like this grand adventure and taking up the entire movie. I think everything outside of the initial opener with the test flight thing, which just felt very out of place for the rest of the movie, because the rest of the movie was so real and practical, and the beginning was just so crazy over the top that it just seemed odd.
I actually like the third act where post I like that they chose to do something besides just the big mission, and then it's a kind of a behind enemy lines kind of spoof, not spoof, but
no, that was
homage.
great. But and obviously that's not extremely realistic. There's parts there's a lot of
nothing is very
drama-added
realistic
stuff.
about Top Gun, but yeah.
Well, I'd say overall that was one of the more realistic military plane movies in a long time.
Thank you, Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
that's who I blame for that. There's a lot cheaper ways to make movies, so I'm sure Tom Cruise had something to do with that. Thank you, Tom Cruise.
It's one of the rare exceptions of them doing a remake / sequel of a very old movie and doing it justice. Mm-hmm. And so that was they went out of their way to make it what it could have been.
Okay, last Tom Cruise call out. I can't believe I actually had one thing left on my list I was willing to say out loud. I actually liked Phenomenon. I've always
that was also on my list.
Yeah.
I was surprised that neither of you guys said Goldmember, which he's technically in, but I don't remember him in the movie at all.
I mean, I'm not gonna recommend something from a movie whose person's participation I can't recall.
He wasn't he Goldmember?
No.
He was.
No,
he was.
Of course.
He was Goldmember?
No.
No.
He
was one of the bad guys, but what was
No, he's a random dude in the corner. I think he's just literally at a cameo.
He plays himself as an Austin Powers variant, I believe.
Oh, okay. Well,
famous Goldfinger Austin Pussy is the name of his role.
Wow. Okay. I will absolutely recommend the first Austin Power movies to anyone. I think the first Austin Power movie was it's a kind of a seminal achievement in comedy cinema. I will not recommend anything else.
I think, if you went to see Austin Powers 2 and didn't get what you wanted, I think it was your fault.
Sure. But
same with Austin Powers 3. That they were famous for that sequel of movies was a big deal in that time period.
Oh, it's huge.
And obviously they're horribly immature and silly, but I think if that's what you want, and that's what they gave you, 100%.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the first movie. I think a lot of the opening sequence of the first movie when he's dancing down the street is amazing. It is wonderful. What an awesome intro to set the tone for a movie. It was perfect. So there are parts of that movie that are not just good for its time or good in its context. There are parts of that movie that are actually just so charming. It's amazing.
But if you didn't see the sequels, don't you even get Mini-Me until the second movie?
No, Mini-Me's in the
first one. Is he in the first one?
Yeah,
I didn't think he was.
Now you got me. second guessing myself. Yeah, he's in the first one.
Okay. This is only showing the second two here. Are you sure?
Am I wrong?
I mean, it literally is only showing two of them.
You're
It's the second
right.
and third one. Oh! Burned.
Okay, so he's not in it.
1990s movies raised me, bitch.
Okay. Well, honestly, I'm gonna. Maybe this is controversial, but I can do without Mini Me. I don't need Mini Me for those movies to be fun. But
Yeah, but he added a lot.
I get why people like it. Yeah, it was not a bad joke.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the opposite side here. I think that the other two movies added to the franchise. It's
Okay.
not just cheap imitations.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of movies that do that. Like John Wick, I think is a good example. Like the first movie's great, and then the second two are just like, eh. Like you didn't really need these, but that's fine.
Give me the other three.
There are 4 of them, yes. Nobody needed the 4th one. I don't know if other people liked it. Like I'm one of those people that refuses to read like online opinions because I think they're almost always wrong. But I did not need the 4th John Wick. I think the second one was fine. The third one felt tired, and then the 4th one was just like, I don't even know what we're doing anymore. Like I think it lost the point.
I might get my my credentials revoked for this, but I have never seen a John Wick.
I don't think that's an indictment.
Okay.
I mean, I like them. I
Oh,
don't think everyone has to.
I imagine that I would really, really enjoy them. It's just somehow I have dodged it. I've not on purpose.
Mm-hmm. The first one's definitely worth it. All right, well, let's jump into it. Unless you guys have anything else.
Oh no.